Hello, everyone. Welcome to the channel for everything Arsenal and everything football. Thanks for being here. I hope you're all doing well. And on this stream, you're going to be doing a quick recap on Arsenal's 2-1 victory over Chelsea, giving our thoughts on Arsenal's imminent signing of Willian, and of course, doing a season's player ratings for Arsenal's players, and also doing a keep or sell on our players, and just talking about the manager Unai Emery and Mikel Arteta's season. So without further ado, let me introduce the guests. Hi, Sam.
Hi, Glenn. Hi, everyone. Thanks for having me on. It's been a pleasure to come on your stream.
Thank you. Where can the people find you? On Twitter?
Yeah, I've got a channel, not a big one, but I've got a channel called Sam Greenwood TV. I do some chat shows on there about Arsenal and football-related stuff, and then do some quizzes now and again. But I'm mainly on other people's shows, really, different watch-alongs and previews and reviews with the different YouTubers. So yeah, just keep an eye out for that. And if you're checking out my channel, Sam Greenwood TV, please subscribe. That'd be appreciated. Thanks a lot.
Checking it out right now.
Thank you, Sam. And the next one, the legend himself, Stan.
Hello, mate. Thank you for that lovely introduction, and thank you for having me on your stream.
You're welcome. And finally, Zuhum, how are you, bro?
I'm good, man. Thank you so much for inviting me here. I realized this is a lot bigger than I thought. I thought it was just me and you initially, but I'm glad we have some notable guests as well. So nice to meet you guys.
Sorry for not giving you a heads up on that.
Yeah, no, it's all right. It's a pleasant surprise.
Yeah, so where can the people find you?
Oh, you're right. You can find me on IG and on Instagram right now, currently, at Zuhum Omar, ZUHUM Omar. So yeah, both for IG and Twitter.
Thank you. So these guests are like they have like 100 Grammy wins between them. So VIP guests. I'm like the amateur between them. So yeah, they're gonna take the lead at times. So
I'm here to learn as well.
Yeah, we always learn every single day. So
yeah.
Arsenal are 14 times FA Cup winners. I don't think at the start of the season you'd have thought that, especially not in the middle of the season after what we went through in October, November, December. But as soon as Arteta came in, everything changed. And this is the only competition he started from the beginning. Of course, he came into the Europa League in the middle of the competition. He came into the Carabao Cup, we were already eliminated. And in the Premier League, we were pretty much midway, but he started with the team in the FA Cup from the third round, and the only competition he's taken in charge of from the beginning, he has won it. What did you make of it, Sam?
We're talking about the FA Cup now, right? Our victory over Chelsea. Yeah, no, I mean it was a great way to finish the season, wasn't it? I mean, we've had such a hard season to endure. We've had so many downs, a lot of negativity. It was just so good to finish on a high note, for so many reasons, not just for us as fans or what we've gone through as Arsenal fans, but for Arteta and his development and improvement, and for the players who definitely needed a boost and some confidence, and also to see that it was possible to actually do something with this group of players, and actually win something, like that against Chelsea and beat Manchester City in the semi-final, against all odds, really. I mean, it was just such a great way to finish the season, and a great game. It was a typical start, going down 1-0 after 5 minutes. I thought, oh, here we go, it's Baku all over again. How many is it going to be? But then we just fought back really well. The drink break came along, which has definitely benefited us several times so far since the introduction of that. The drink break, we regrouped and did some adjustments, and that seemed to really help. And we just really took over from there, really, and bounced back. And it reminded me a lot of back in the early 2000s when Chelsea were, the noisy neighbours, not just Arsenal, but Chelsea were the noisy neighbours, fighting in the Champions League spots, and we had some real tough games against them, in the Premier League and the the FA Cup where I think it was like, was it 3 or 4 games in a row where they would take the lead 1-0 and we would come back and win 2-1. It was just like that again, you know, and I didn't think that was going to happen really. But yeah, anyway, great way to cap the season. Like I said, such a tough season. To finish on a high note like that was great. And I'm still actually buzzing a bit now from it, really. You know, I love watching the highlights and the clips of the celebrations. You know, Martinez crying. You know what story he has. You know what his journey's been, and it's just great. But you know, it's just a great way to finish the season.
Yeah, and you've just mentioned Man City and Chelsea. Even before that, we had a tough fixture away to Sheffield United. Probably half of people expected us to lose that game. At the beginning, we had to play Leeds, a team that has been promoted now.
Yeah, Leeds gave us a tough game. Leeds gave us a tough game. You know, that wasn't an easy fought victory. We had to really dig deep to win that game.
Exactly, and also Bournemouth away, never easy really. So we had to work very hard, pretty much like our win in 2014 when we had to beat Everton, Liverpool. Back in 2015, we had to beat United at Old Trafford. So it's never easy. And I'm glad you also brought up that drinks break, because it seems like we've been using it a lot, probably more than the other managers, and it's been breathing new energy to the team. So yeah, I've been using it very well. Stan, what did you make of it?
Well, I'm looking for 2 people. I'm searching for 2 people. The first person I want to find is the person who can produce a betting slip that they put on at the beginning of the season saying that we would win the FA Cup. Because I don't think that person is out there. And if they are out there, they're probably sitting on a big pile of cash. Second person I want to find the Arsenal fan who has not used the word buzzing in the last few days. I can't stop saying it. Is there an Arsenal fan out there who's not said that they're buzzing? Because I am still buzzing.
We're all buzzing. We're all buzzing.
If you can find those 2 people, DM me, let me know, right? But on a serious note, though, I mean, who expected that I mean, the beginning of, well, not even the beginning of the season. The beginning of the season, the wheels started to fall off when our captain just had done everything he could to leave, Laurent Koscielny, which was so out of character, because that's not really his personality, and that was a sign that things were going to go wrong. The next guy that we gave the armband to, he told everyone to F off. I won't use the words on this channel, but it's just been bad all the way through. You know, Baku, Unai Emery. To say that we were going to like walk away with our record 14th FA Cup was just not on the cards. And there was so much more at stake than just lifting the trophy for this particular one. For me, it's a big sign of how we go on from here now. Because before the match, if we'd lost that one, I would say that it would make it very difficult for us to perhaps entice someone like a Thomas Partey to Arsenal, and maybe be more difficult to get Aubameyang to commit further to the club. Now that we've accomplished this and we're back in Europe, albeit not at the big table, I think it makes it a little bit more easier now. I'm not saying it's in the bag, but maybe it does make it easier to get a Thomas Partey. Maybe it encourages the owners to stump up 35, 40 million, knowing that they're going to get that back from the Europa League. So they might sort of like forward the money, if you will, give us an overdraft facility. And again, Aubameyang, I think he's going to sign now. And I'm hearing a lot of rumours. And I heard a rumour from a transfer checker that he's already signed a 3-year deal. And it's going to be announced imminently. So I'm hoping that happens. So it was a big expectation on this game. And for Mikel Arteta to come in and do that in the season that we've had. And remember, he came in halfway where everything was a mess. And then he got struck down with the virus himself. He had to struggle with that. And to achieve what he's achieved, I mean, when we got to the quarterfinals, I thought, okay, this is probably where the journey ends then. It's probably going to end here with the quarterfinals. When we got through to the quarterfinals and I saw that we had City, I thought to myself, okay, just don't mug yourselves off. Just fight hard. It's not going to go any further than this, but don't embarrass yourselves. So when we beat them and we got Chelsea, I was like, bloody hell, this is what's going on, And then along the way we beat Liverpool as well. So going into the final, for me, I was like, which Arsenal's going to turn up? Was it the Arsenal that played Brighton, or was it the Arsenal that played the first half of Leicester, Liverpool, Man City. Luckily, it was the latter. So yeah, and I'll just end it on this. Still buzzing.
You know, interestingly, like you mentioned, interestingly, that those last couple of weeks, you know, we beat Manchester City, Manchester City, Liverpool, and Chelsea, the 3 top teams in the country. You know, and you know, I thought it was pretty good going to beat those 3, considering where we came from.
I mean, be honest.
Yeah,
just to add on to that,
we had City coming up in the semi-final. Surely your mind went back to when we played them at the restart, and you just thought, just you know,
exactly.
Yeah, go ahead,
you wouldn't help that, you know.
yeah, no, I think just dating back a little further than the first 2 weeks. I mean, we also beat Wolves in that run-in. You know, we unluckily drew with Leicester, who I thought should NKETIAH had stayed on, we probably would have won that game, if I'm not mistaken. And yeah, I just thought I think my main concern at some point during the season is when Granit Xhaka said we seemed scared to play against Watford. Remember that game with Watford? We drew 2-2 and we conceded an insane amount of goals. I think, was it 30 something? Was it 31 or so?
Shots.
Shots. And sorry, not goals. Yeah, shots. And I was at that point, I thought to myself, oh no, Unai Emery's gone on and just messed everything up. And everything just started unraveling for me, and it just started dawning on me how bad we actually had it at Arsenal. Because the season prior to that, we'd gone on a 22 unbeaten run, right?
Yeah.
22 game unbeaten run, and a lot of people saw the positives in that, in saying that we didn't concede, or at least we won the game. You know, yeah, we didn't play that well, but at least we'd won the game, and previous Arsenal teams would have dropped points. And just when Unai Emery was sacked, I started realizing we're in a very, very big problem, because who's going to come in and have an immediate impact? That the way, I don't know if Arteta's impact in the league was well felt by the Arsenal squad, but if the names that were bandied around, Allegri or Pochettino or even Jose Mourinho, just imagine how bad we may have had it if we didn't have such a manager in Arteta that could help us seamlessly transition into this new era, because of how much of an Arsenal man he is. I mean, I'm not saying he's Tony Adams, you know, but it's worth mentioning that 5 years on, he wins the FA Cup as manager, and obviously done that before as captain. So for me, what I think, something that Arteta is bringing in is this beautiful story that hopefully continues heading in the right direction. You know, he's saying all the right things, demanding all the things that Arsenal fans were demanding of the players before him. You know, the non-negotiables that he talked about initially when he first joined, work ethic, pride in playing for the badge. I think that just won me over, and I felt completely in love with that. So yeah, I was really happy that he eventually won it himself, and it just, you know, I could have teared up when I saw him run onto the pitch and hug all the players the way he did, because it was just so beautiful to see.
Yeah.
Question for you though. What was your first thought when Arteta was appointed? Was it like a feeling of yes, we've got a new manager? Was it like I'm not sure?
Right. So initially, when he was linked with us, there was also other names, not just Jose Mourinho and Pochettino, but there was also Brendan Rodgers, and I was kind of looking over that side of the fence and just thinking it's a bit greener on that side. Obviously, look at the way things have turned out with Leicester, but initially I thought to myself, I don't know that we should go with someone who has no experience, because you just don't know what you're going to get. But then the more I heard and the more I read about it, realizing how much effort he's put into becoming this assistant manager, this grand assistant manager at City. And I just started believing a bit more and more. And once we signed him, and all the Arsenal media clips came out about how the negotiables that he talked about, how much pride he had in being an Arsenal manager now, because of how much pride he had in being an Arsenal captain before that, that just, I swooned. I may have swooned. Seriously,
Okay,
because
Sam.
I loved it. I think Arteta, I fully believe in him as Arsenal man right now, to the point where I'm just thinking, I know we're going to talk about the transfers, but I may be on borderline whatever Arteta says. As long as it's his signing, I'm happy. Yeah.
Yeah, Sam. If forgetting everything that has happened since, like if you're in the board at that time, like around December, if you had the choice of picking Mourinho or Arteta, who would you have gone for?
I tell you what, I'm gonna be 100% honest, and that is that I was thinking Arteta is not the right man for the job, because I was just thinking, listen, Arsenal was in a position where you need experience. I mean, with the mess we was going through at the time, I was thinking, you got to have someone in who's experienced, who has a lot of it pedigree as a manager, and who's been through some tough times before, and sort of knows how to steer a ship that's got its sails broken. So it's for me, I was thinking even Arteta, of course, on paper looks good in many ways, but I was thinking, listen, the guy has no experience as a manager, and that is a huge vital factor. And to go from no experience to actually managing what essentially is one of the biggest clubs in the world, no matter how you look at it, Arsenal is always going to be one of the biggest clubs in the world. It's a huge task. So I was thinking it shouldn't be Arteta. And for me, I was more along the lines of getting someone inexperienced. I didn't want Mourinho in, because for Mourinho, the guy he's too much of a focal point. He takes away so much of the football by he's like a tornado. He comes in and he just sucks everything in, and he just ruins so much mentally and psychologically for he just wouldn't work for me. I didn't want Mourinho, even though a lot of people did want him. For me, I was actually more of an Ancelotti guy. Because Ancelotti had that pedigree. You see what he's done before. He's won. He's been, he's won so many trophies. He's been around big players, handled big personalities. So for me, I was more along the lines of an Ancelotti, that kind of direction. But then when Arteta got appointed, I got behind him and I said, okay, listen, let's give this guy a go. And like what Zahoum said, his first press conferences were very impressive. He was saying a lot of the right things, giving a lot of the right indications. Looked like he knew, like that he had a plan with things. And I was like, okay, let's give this guy a chance. Let's give him a chance and back him, and then see how it goes. And so far so good, right?
Yeah, Stan, I'm guessing that goes another one. Who's buzzing?
Disconnected.
Question for you, Stan. If Ancelotti came to Arsenal at that time, do you think he would have been the kind of manager to like sell at least 5 or 6 players in January, or same impact as Arteta?
See, when it was announced that we were going to look for a new manager, and Mikel Arteta's name came up, I just thought it was a gamble. And it's for the same reason that I say to the people that I've seen on social media that want Mikel Arteta out for one reason or another, and that's quite simply, where would you then go after Mikel Arteta? Because if you think about it, right, we had what I would term as an elite manager in Arsene Wenger. He's what I would put in the elite bracket of managers. After Arsene Wenger, we went down into a lower bracket with Unai Emery. He's not an elite manager. He's in the next, if there's a next tier down, he was sold to us as a cup specialist, and he would be the one through the Europa League that would guide us back into the Champions League. And it didn't work out in that next tier down. So where did we go from there? We then took a big gamble and a roll of the dice by bringing in a guy who had never done the job before. So my fear was, if it doesn't work out with him, where do you go from there? You can't go back up to the top tier after that. you know, you probably wake up in the morning and Sam Allardyce is sitting in the office, you know, in the manager's chair. Because where would you go? Do you know what I mean? You see where I'm going? So that was my fear, that I was thinking, if it doesn't work with him, how would we attract someone else in? So I was more looking for someone. I was in the Brendan Rodgers camp. Yeah, laugh, go on.
No, Brendan Rodgers is a good manager. No, listen,
I like him.
I agree. He's a good manager. He's a good manager. What he did at Leicester. If you take away what happened the last few months at Leicester, there where they sort of dipped. I mean, you saw what he did at Leicester this season. They were flying, you know, until Christmas.
And don't get me wrong. I don't think Brendan Rodgers is the sort of guy that I could ever see myself having a pint with, you know, and shooting the breeze with. But just for what I thought he could bring to Arsenal, I was sort of like keen on him. As for Mourinho, if you're giving me that choice, you know, for me, it's not an argument of who's the better manager. He's won more than Arteta. It's got nothing to do with that side of it. The reason why I wouldn't pick Mourinho is quite simple. I just don't like the man.
Yeah.
Nothing to do with what he's won, what he hasn't won. I'm just not particularly fond of him as the person, and I wouldn't want him to come into Arsenal. So
may I just add to that? I just couldn't find myself supporting a man who labeled our legendary manager a voyeur. Like, there was just no way I could ever support him. And a lot of people remember just the specialist in failure, but what hurts me even more is that particular word. I mean, the man just had no class about him. And I just thought to myself, there's no way he could lead Arsenal, which in my opinion is a classy club compared to the other clubs around us. So yeah, just very good point there. Thank you, Stan.
Yeah, and even if we'd had someone like Mourinho in charge, and let's say we'd won an FA Cup with him, you know, as happy as I would be for Arsenal, I would have a sour taste in my mouth seeing Jose Mourinho in the celebrations. I just have a bit of a, personally, and I've never met the man, but he just isn't my cup of tea. So he would never be on the cards as a pick for me if I was making that choice. But now that it is Mikel Arteta, I fully back him. I fully backed Emery. You know, he was stumbling, but I was in that camp where I just want it to work. I don't want to go through what Manchester United went through after Ferguson, manager after manager after manager. Whoever they bring in, I just want it to work. But it didn't with Emery, and I'm glad it's starting to look like it is with Mikel Arteta.
Yeah, obviously we've seen recently Mourinho's man management has been poor. But that is what I've liked about Arteta. He seems to get the best out of some average players, to be fair. SHKODRAN was about to leave before he joined. MUSTAFI was having another terrible season before he came. To be fair, only LENO, AUBAMEYANG, SAKA, and MARTINELLI were playing well before he came. So speaking of getting the best out of players, do you think he'll get the best out of WILLIAN if he joins? Sam?
I'll say it straight away. I would say yes to WILLIAN for several reasons. One of the reasons, and probably the main reason, being that he's free. I mean, if we can get him for free, it's a good bit of business. He's 31. He's still got a few seasons left in him. He's still got speed in his legs. He's still good with the ball. He can still distribute the ball well. And I think we can use him left and right. We can use him left to alternate on the left side of you know, the front three, and we can use him on the right as well to alternate with Pepe on that side as well. And also, if we want it, we can drop him in the hole behind, maybe in a central attacking role, if he decides to change formations and do that. You know, there's different ways of using WILLIAN. He can bring a lot to our squad that we need at the moment. You know, that direct ability to get beyond players and create things and he's got that creativity that we've been lacking at the moment, right? So to get him for free, you know, we're not going to be spending 50, 60, 70, 80 million on him. I say, great, bring him in and add him to the squad and let's see what he can do. That's what I say. I wouldn't mind having him at all.
Stan, we are hearing it could be something like 100K a week. Are you okay with that? Especially after what we've seen happening to our players?
Yeah, actually, if it's about 100K a week, then I was actually saying to someone just yesterday, if we're going to pay him around 90 to 100K a week, and we're getting him for free, then that's not bad. If it goes over that, I would be a little concerned. But my biggest worry is, I mean, he's going to be 32 on the 9th of August, so he's basically 32, and they wanted him at Chelsea. The sticking point was that they only wanted him to give him a 2-year contract, and for whatever reason, it looks like Arsenal were willing to balk and say, "Yeah, we'll give you the 3 years that you want." So I'm underwhelmed by it. But I understand it, because one of the things that we are lacking in this squad is a little bit of experience. And he does have the experience, but my fear is that if we're going to give him a 3-year contract, he'll be coming up to the age of about 35. I don't see any sell-on value. And by then, is he going to be, how often is he going to be really featuring in the squad to be sat there on 100 grand by, you know, say 2 years time, 2.5 years time? Because how long are his legs going to carry him for? So he underwhelms me. But I understand. That makes sense.
100K though. When you look at our squad, what they're being paid, 100K is like at the bottom end. Yeah. You know, you look at the likes we're paying, all the rest of them. I mean, 100K is a good deal for me. You know, and like I agree with you, Stan. Maybe the sell-on value might not be great, but listen, the guy's free, and I think he can add a lot to our squad. You know, we can use him left, you can use him right, you can use him down the middle. You know, you can use him in different positions, and I think he's at that. Listen, he's not world class, tip top up there, but he's still at a decent level and Premier League ready. You know, and also the fact that Chelsea want to keep him, I think that's a good sign that Chelsea want to keep him. If we can get him, it's not the same as getting LUIZ. So, you know, I think he can add something.
I just think that 3 years might be 1 year just too long. Do you know what I mean?
It's 3 years might be a bit long, I agree. Yeah.
I honestly love Willian as a player, because I feel like that's where, just like Stan mentioned, we need someone to carry the ball in between midfield lines, in between the attacking third and our midfield, and someone to really link our attacking front three and our midfield, because it kind of looks like sometimes when we give the ball to Danny and Granit Xhaka in midfield, that there's no connection between Lacazette and our midfield. So Lacazette has to drop deep, quite deep, and now fill in this role as a false nine, which primarily he isn't. And I think once you bring in a player like Willian, you also transform some of the other players around him. Guys like Pepe will receive the ball in more dangerous positions a lot more frequently. I think we'd be able to put in Lacazette in on goal a lot more than we have done recently, because you find that a lot of the chances that he receives are very instinctive chances. You know, you have to take them first time. You don't have much time. A lot of the times he's in the box. And the profile that Lacazette was bought for was to actually make runs in behind, just play off the shoulder of the central defenders, beat the offside trap, and then go 1v1 with the keeper. So I think Willian can offer that. And I think I understand Stan's concern, but Sam is right in that I think he's the kind of player that can easily...
Oh, lost it.
Frozen.
So, yeah, let me just give a shout out to a few people. Liam Talks in the chat, Lewis, Babu O, David, Imon, Cookie, Arsenal Insights, Zane, Sam, thanks for being here. So, Sam, with Willian in the squad, what would be your best formation? To stay with the back five or to go with 4-2-3-1?
Oh, he's back now. Maybe we can just bring him back to his point.
Sorry guys. I don't know why. I usually play online games with this, but it's troubling right now. Sorry, what was the question?
Oh yeah, the gamer. Same with Stan, self-proclaimed great gamers.
I'm all right. I try.
No, he was making that point about Willian. You were saying that Willian, it would be good. Willian would be good to bring in. You was talking about just before you froze.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So I think you also make good points in that he can play very well across the front three, or rather behind the striker, anywhere in the forward positions. However, I think part of the reason why we're looking for such a player is so that we can eventually go to a back four. I think Arteta would like to play with a back four. I think that's the best way to batter a team and keep them in their own defensive third for long periods of time. And he mentioned that just before we got into the run-in. He said we don't have the ability to batter a team for 90, 95 minutes right now. We don't have the players for it. And I think that's obviously to do with the number 10, and possibly we can talk about the center backs.
Right.
Yeah. Sam, go ahead.
What was the question again about Willian?
I was asking about the formation with Willian.
Oh yeah, the formation.
Yeah.
Which
one did you play with him?
I do think that Arteta ideally wants to play a 4-3-3 or a 4-2, like 3-1, something like that. I do think that is his ideal formation, but he's using this 3-4-3 now because. And this is where Arteta deserves so much praise, because he's actually playing a formation, a strategy that works for these players, the players we have at the moment. And he's getting the most out of them by playing that formation, which we will continue to do until we get the players he wants. Because I think if he can bring in the players he wants in the positions, that he wants to do, I think then he'll probably change back to something like similar to a 4-2-3-1 type formation. Like Zahum said, go back to a back four and then be a bit more dominant in midfield, have an attacking player. Because at the moment, when you've got just when you've basically got two central midfielders to work with, you're either lacking defensively or you're lacking creatively, an attacking sense. You can't have both. So, if you take that extra player, then you go to a back four, then you can add in midfield. You can add both. You can have an attacking player and a holding player, and that sort of creates that balance and to be able to hold possession more in a game. So yeah, I think with Willian he'll be able to. It just gives him more flexibility, with Willian, because he can use him left, he can use him right, he can see where he works best. He can alternate with Pepe maybe if Pepe needs a bit of a break or whatever, or just to let him have a break here and there, and out left as well. Maybe we can use Aubameyang in the middle, where I think he's best. I think he's best in the middle. Ideally, I'd love to see him go back to the middle, and we can use maybe a Willian or even a Saka or a Martinelli out left. But yeah, I do think he's going to change formations to what he wants to play when he gets the players he wants to bring in.
You make a good point. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, David Anoa in the chat box, he must have read my mind, because I've been waiting to make this point, and he puts it in the chat box. And all of the positive things that we've said about Willian, all of the positive things that everybody on the panel has said that he will bring to the team, is exactly what I thought about Henrik Mkhitaryan when he was coming to us. Especially if you couple that with the thought that, well, he's also played with Aubameyang. This is going to be excellent. What a pairing. And it just didn't materialise. And I'm just worried that Willian is going to be another Mkhitaryan. Regarding the formation that you were just saying about the formation, and it's obvious to me that I think Mikel Arteta, as soon as he can, he wants to go back to a formation that has four at the back and has another body somewhere in the midfield. And there's a reason why we bypass the midfield now. The ball goes out to Tierney, he hoofs it up to Aubameyang, because if you haven't got a midfield, then just go over it.
Yeah, exactly.
But it might not be the sexiest of play, but what you're seeing and what I like is you're seeing a manager that is, so to me, looks like he's got some tactical nous, and he's got a formation that, as Sam rightly says, I call it, Kenny called it sticky plaster formation. It's just holding it together with the right players for what he's got to get wins and to get points.
Yeah,
it's an FA Cup, so fair play. But I don't think that we're going to be sticking with five at the back going forward if he gets the players that he wants.
Yeah, go ahead, Zoom. You're about to say something?
Yeah, I think I felt the same about Henrik Mkhitaryan. I also wondered if Arteta had done so well with some of the players that were completely written off. Guys like SHKODRAN, MUSTAFI, Granit Xhaka, AINSLEY, Maitland-Niles. I'd written him off, to be honest, rather. And someone like Henrik Mkhitaryan, who I thought was a victim of the Unai Emery era, because Unai Emery never really knew his best formation. He never really knew his best players. He never really knew how to get the best out of his best players. And you're seeing what Henrik Mkhitaryan can do in Serie A right now. He's essentially doing what we bought him, what we traded him for, and we never really got that at Arsenal. No. So I thought to myself, Arteta, if it's anybody to get the best out of him as well, it would be Arteta. But I think Willian is just a little bit above Henrik Mkhitaryan in terms of quality at the moment, because I think Willian is similar in terms to in his physique, or rather his fitness, not his physique, his fitness to Aubameyang. Aubameyang's 31 as well, and he doesn't look like he's aging at all. And in the same way, so does Willian. So I thought Willian, I don't think I minded in the same way as I don't think I minded in the same way as Stan, but I don't think I'm as excited as Sam. Sam seems to really be enjoying that signing, if should it happen.
Is Gunners asks about Rakitic. We've been linked with Rakitic. Is he another kind of Willian buyer? Would you get him? Is he better than what we have, Sam?
He's better than XHAKA, that's for sure. So Rakitic, he might not be playing at his best at the moment. He might be slightly beyond his best, but he's better than what we have. So, but listen, he's not the player we should be going for. We need to be getting a dominant midfielder, someone who can really dominate midfield. Like a Partey or a Decore or someone in that mould who can just take charge of midfield, win the ball, work box to box, and just completely just win us the ball and give the ball to our creative players who can move the ball forwards.
Yeah, Zoom, Rakitic.
Not a fan, no. I'm afraid, because the thing is, it's not just his age, but the fact that he's also he's gonna have to transition to the Premier League. If you're gonna transition any player from Serie A or La Liga to the Premier League, he best not be over 30.
Yeah.
Especially not in central midfield. So I'm very much of the same opinion as Sam, and I'm sure Stan as well. We need that kind of central midfielder that dominates the game, not just with his physicality, but with technical brilliance and with actual, distance running. Someone who can beat a man in midfield. Joe Willock threatens. He threatens. He really does try in midfield. He kind of gets past one player or the other. I think maybe there's something in there with him. I wouldn't write him off as I did initially, maybe around January. I really did write him off. But I think we need someone like Sam mentioned, Decore or Thomas Partey, someone to dribble with pace and strength and really drive at opposition midfields.
Yeah. Stan, is this another case of getting a player too late? We've been linked with Benzema like 5 years after his prime. LUIZ probably got him 5 years late. So is this another case? Rakitic 5 years ago, would you have gotten him?
It's like the Arsenal retirement home, isn't it? These players, they turn up and they get handed a big, lovely white plush towel in dressing gown, and they get put on a lovely little lounger by the pool, and it's just a retirement. They've got bingo on a Thursday evening. If they're good, it's ridiculous. I don't want us. We do need experience, but we don't want pensioners. If they bring somebody in who's going to be 30, 31, then give them a contract that's the length is according to that, so that we don't then end up saddled with them for that 1 year where they're not playing. They're hobbled, they can barely run, and they're like sat there on 120, 130 grand. That has to stop. But it just worries me that some of the people that we get linked with, it all just seems very convenient. To me, it just seems like, Willian will come to Arsenal because they'll give him that third year and it's in London. Do you know, exactly. Not because he wants to come to Arsenal. And I don't know if we're going to talk about Coutinho, but what worries me with Coutinho was it was only about maybe 3 or 4 weeks ago, when I first started hearing about the Coutinho links, I heard that Coutinho said that he ain't interested in Arsenal. That's one place he would rule out. And then the phone didn't ring in Coutinho's house. It all went silent for about 3 or 4 weeks. The next thing I'm hearing, Coutinho has contacted our board to say, hey, actually, You know, if there is room at the retirement home and you've got another dressing gown, can I come in? And I don't want players, you know, that we're just the second choice now because nobody else has contacted him and he's thinking, oh, I could maybe get 150 grand at Arsenal. So I don't like that attitude.
Yeah,
well, the thing that links them though,
internet problem.
the thing that links them though, Coutinho and Willian, is they've got the same agent, and that agent is a good friend of Raul.
Yeah,
they're tight. So you know, if we're getting Willian and Coutinho, we know very well why it's to link up with the agent again. You know.
I don't want us to be mutually exclusive to Kia, the guy. I can never say his surname.
Joe Butch, something like that.
I want him to be our go-to guy now. You know, I want us to have a wider net. I want us to get the right players from the right places that have been. Not only do they have the right skill set, but they have the right mentality. I mean, look at the GUENDOUZI situation. I mean, this is a young lad who's 21. He's now been shown the door by 3 football clubs. He's been shown the door by the biggest club in France, Paris Saint-Germain. So he stuffed that up. Then the club that he went to after that, which was who was it? He was where did he get him from? Was it
Lorient or something like that?
They should basically fell out, and now he's done it at Arsenal. It wasn't. You check all of that out to know what you were getting. Like, did you not sort of like do your homework a little bit and find out a little bit about the personality of the lad? So I mean, I just worry about how we're getting these players. It's just because they're in somebody's agent's address book. That's not the way it should be done.
Yeah, that's true. It's good. We need to. And another thing is, we got rid of all those scouts. So it's like, what are we doing with our scouting network? Are we? Is that a considered approach where we're actually thinking we don't need that scouting network now because we're going to be working more with the contacts, Raul and Vinay and them have it within the game, especially Raul, who has that huge contact network with agents, right? So it seems like it's going to be going through agents and through a contact network rather than looking at a scouting system where we're trying to find players around the world that we might be able to uncover like a new rough diamond or whatever in a Martinelli, but it just seems like we're taking again that agent driven approach rather than using our scouting network, and like you said, Stan, putting in that due diligence with a player and scouting him properly and looking at his mentality and attitude and everything and all of that before we sign them.
Just touching on what you said about the release of a lot of our scouts. What I understand happened there was that when Sven Mislintat was brought in to kind of look after the scouting side of things, he made a suggestion to Raul and co that they should shed some of the scouts that they had. He felt that it was too big and it needed to be streamlined. So they brought him in to sort of, look after that department, and that was his suggestion. And they just turned around and said, no, we're not doing that. So you're undermining him, and then they get rid of him, and he leaves because of the mutual agreement that never came to pass. And what do they do when he leaves? They then start doing the stuff that he suggested. It's that indecision of how they make their decisions. We're not gonna the board. We're not gonna diversify our shares. We're gonna bring in and we're gonna raise the cash another way. We don't want to let go of our holding. And then what do? They diversify their shares and give them all to Kroenke. They say one thing, they do another thing. It happens all of the time.
Yeah.
Now they put the cart in front of the horse. And we're touching on transfers. I just want to make one last point. Sorry, Glenn, and that was before I forget. The sale of Jeff Ren Adelaide. We sold him for about 1.2 million, something like that. 8 months later, the club that we sold him to, they sell him on for over 22 million. How does that happen? How did we get that one so wrong? That's a chasm. That's a huge difference in funds. We get 1.2 million. 8 months later, the same lad's going for 22. That can't be. That sort of stuff can't be maintained. Sorry,
we definitely lost our business side. Back in the day, we used to sign players on a cheap, and Wenger used to offload them on a very, very high profit. But these days, we've lost that. And good work, gentlemen. You're doing very, very good work in trying to keep it under 1 hour. Very, very good job, by the way.
Yeah, you're welcome. You're
Um,
welcome very much.
I think it's going to extend more than that. So I should have said this earlier. If you're watching this on replay, I'll have timestamps in the description. So if you want to go to the exact topic you're talking about, you can just click on the timestamp. So if you don't want to watch all of it, you can just click on the timestamp to make everything easier. And let's just get into the main topic of the day: the season player ratings. As I said in the beginning, it was a mixed season for us. We had players emerging like SAKA, Martinelli, a new signing, all played very well. AUBAMEYANG keeping his record intact. LENO playing well, Martinez playing well, but of course some other players didn't really live up to expectations. SHKODRAN, MUSTAFI, players that honestly I wanted sold at the beginning of the season. SOKRATIS, maybe OZIL, nowhere to be seen. KOLASINAC, the only thing he did the whole season was protecting OZIL at the start of the season. Hasn't done anything else since. So let's begin with LENO. What did you make of Leno's season, Zuhum?
Wow. Leno was one of our few best players as far as I was concerned up until he got injured. And at that point, you know, the constant amount of saves, goal line saves, 1v1s, reaction saves, some spectacular top bin saves. I mean, he'd proven himself to be not only just a shot stopper, but also he got better gradually at being a ball playing keeper. And I thought I was so impressed to the point where, you know, I could regard him as one of the top 5 in the world, if not, you know, yeah, I highly rate him. And I thought to myself, the only reason he doesn't look as good as he should is because he was part of such a poor Arsenal defense. So I would have given, before his injury, I would have given Bernd Leno a very strong 8. Very strong 8. We're rating him out of 10,
This is
imagine.
a combined, out of 10. This is a combined rating of all the competitions they've played in, the Europa League, the Premier League, and the whole season since August. So you give him an 8 for the whole season?
Yes, I give him an 8 for the whole season because there were some high-profile errors. Some things that just left you scratching your head, you know? And because of that, I thought to myself, that's what stopped him. Yeah, that's what stopped him from really being a solid 9 or at least 9, yeah. So 8, strong 8 for me.
Okay, Sam, obviously, like 5, 6, 7 years ago, we were looking for goalkeepers every now and then. After Almuni, after Szczesny, after Czech. And when we signed Czech, we were promised that he'll get us like 15 points a season, which never happened. But I'm sure you'll agree that Leno has gotten us points this season.
Oh, definitely, and it's statistically proven. We're the team who's faced the most, like the 3rd most shots in the league. You know, with and he's got the highest. He's got the 2nd highest save percentage in the league. So you know, it's statistically proven that, you know, without Leno, we would have a lot more goals against us. So yeah, the guy's done a great job with a very poor defense in front of him. You know what helps all these great goalkeepers? You look at all these great goalkeepers through history. You know, you're looking at up for our goalkeeper David Seaman. Look at the defenders he had in front of him. You know, Adams, Bold, Keown, you know, Dixon, Winterburn. Seaman was a great goalkeeper, but he was helped a lot by the defence in front of him. The same with Schmeichel at United, the great defences they had. You know, you look at the top goalkeepers. You know, Alisson at Liverpool, he's made some mistakes. He hasn't had a great season, but you know, he's been helped by that great defence he's had in front of him. You know. So the defence is very important, and Bernd Leno has had no defence for most of the season. It's only now, really, the last few months after the restart where Arteta sort of managed to put the defence sort of halfway together again. That there's actually been more. It looks more like a defence as it should. You know, he's been facing less shots each game. So yeah, Leno's done great, and unfortunately, he's made a couple of mistakes. I think that the same goes for all the goalkeepers in the league this year. You can say that there's been some good standouts in Pope and Henderson, but listen, everyone's made mistakes, and I think Leno's been right up there. He's been right up there with the top goalkeepers in the league, and for us, arguably, I think it's between him and two other players I won't mention right now, but it's arguably between him and two other players for me for our player of the season this season. You know, you got to give it to him. He's done a hell of a job between the posts.
Out of 10?
Yeah, so for me, I agree with Suhum. He would probably get a solid 9 if it wasn't for the fact he had a couple of those real big howlers that, you know, he just really shouldn't have done. They just let him down, and they were, you know, very unfortunately they led to us losing points. So, you know, it's that does go against him. So yeah, so for that I would agree an 8 and a solid 8. I would say 8, an 8.5 maybe, just to give him that little bit extra. 8.5.
Okay, Babu, thank you for your comment. These guys have won over 100 Grammys combined for a reason. Probably the first few guests I would have wanted to get on the channel. So awesome. So they've made some good points. Stan he's actually made a few mistakes. I think him and De Gea and Pickford have like 8 mistakes each since the start of last season. So do you think he has room for improvement?
Well, here's the thing. I mean, first of all, I think he's one of the best buys that Arsenal has made in a long time, value for money. And if you compare what we paid for him, 22.5 million, I think, around there. And you look at what Chelsea paid for Kepa. I mean,
call him a kipper.
You can't yourself laughing at that one. I mean, Jesus. I mean, but talking about him improving, I don't think we've seen yet how good Leno or Martinez are, or how bad they are. And what I mean by that is, when you've got a goalkeeper that has a poor defence in front of them and no defensive midfield, and they're getting lots of shots, they're constantly switched on, constantly looking for the shot. And I suppose for a goalkeeper, they're probably loving it. They're diving all over the place. The shots are coming in, and you get into a bit of a rhythm. Once you get a really good defence in front of you and a nice shield in front of that defence in the defensive midfield, now you've got a goalkeeper that has to be able to concentrate for 90 minutes, and he might only get 1 or 2 shots coming at him, and he has to be awake. Once we get into that territory where we're not having shots raining down at us, that is when we're going to really find out how good Leno or Martinez is. For now, they're doing superb because they're keeping everything out. But once we get everything settled in front of them, it could tell us a new story.
Out of 10, what did you give him?
Out of 10, yeah, I'd have to agree with Sam. I'd give him a solid 8.5. I'm really impressed with him.
So keep or sell. I'm guessing all of you would agree that we have to keep him.
Do you know what the thing is? This is the thing. Is Arteta's got a really big headache now with between him and Martinez. He's got a really big headache because you know he does have this question now of who he's going to start for next season. I know a lot of people are saying, you know, Leno's got to have his place back because it wasn't his fault. He got injured, etc., etc. You know, he is a more internationally proven goalkeeper. But listen, what has Martinez done wrong? What has Martinez done wrong? He had a couple of maybe missed kicks. But the guy's had worldy saves. He's been incredible on the line. For me, he's better than Leno in the area, coming out claiming crosses. He's better. And for me, he's better.
Potentially handling the ball outside the box.
That was nothing. That was on the line. That's been proven. That's been proven.
The referee said it was fine.
Don't you start back to like a Chelsea fan.
The referee and the official said it was fine. So I'm
and it's been proven afterwards. With the showing it afterwards. It was close, but no cigar. But the thing for me is, the thing for me was, with Martinez is, he's just so commanding. You know, he's big, he's good, he's commanding. He seems to bring in more confidence, and he's better at distribution as well. You know, his throwing and kicking is better than Leno as well. But Leno, it's difficult, isn't it? Because he's done so well. He's had a great season. It's a huge conundrum, I think. For Arteta, and I'm glad I don't have to make the decision. But what my point was, and I've seen this mentioned a few different places now, is if the unexpected happens, because I think it is the unexpected out of the two. I think if Martinez gets the nod to start for next season, I think that's more unexpected. I think that's less likely than Leno getting it. But if Martinez gets that, then there is talk of what does Leno do in that situation? Does Leno sit on the bench and wait for his chance? Or does he then say, listen, okay, maybe in January I want to be sold, and then in January we might be selling Leno? That's a potential scenario there.
I'm happy you brought on Martinez. Sorry, Stan, because that's one of the main reasons I wanted us to qualify for the Europa League, so that one of them could have all the cup competitions and the other could have the Premier League. Because of course we have the luxury of switching them in the Premier League, but you wouldn't want to have goalkeepers and defenders switching. You'd want a consistent back four and a consistent goalkeeper. So that's one of the main reasons I wanted us to qualify for the Europa League. Go ahead, Stan.
I was going to say, you might not like what I have to say next, Sam. So you might want to cover your ears. But my solution to this conundrum would be, I'd sell Martinez, and I would sell him as quickly as I could. Straight away.
Wow. God.
And the reason is that
is harsh, mate. That's harsh.
Not because I think he's a bad keeper, but we're supposed to be a self-sustaining model. We don't have a benefactor that lavishes us with their riches. So it's all about trying to be smart. Now, we paid out 22.5 million for Leno, and as we all agreed, we've all given him a high mark. There's people in the chat box giving him 9s, right? Martinez, he hasn't cost us a penny. He's been with us for 10 years. At no point when we've gone through all of these other keepers that he's been back up to, why has nobody ever looked over and gone, Martinez, he can be our number one? I mean, they see him every day.
Because he took everyone by shock, didn't he? He shocked us all, didn't he?
I know, but I mean, what happens if he goes back to being the Martinez, which is the reason why he's been a number 2 for 10 years. So my thinking is while he's hot now, and he's put himself in the shop window. Now is the time to make maybe 35, 40 million. Is that maybe too much? I don't know. Get some money in on him, because we're a self-sustaining model, and it just helps us in other places. We still have Leno as our number 1, and we've got maybe someone like Iliev or somebody else. Can't pronounce.
Sell Martinez. Sell Martinez. Okay, I can see that point as well. Sell Martinez. It was such a shame that story he's come through now to actually start games and actually win the FA Cup, and then to be sold. That would be so hard.
I'm looking at that sentimental. Do you know what I'm getting at? I'm trying to look at it totally the business side of what we do. But it is a shame, because he's one of our own. He is our own.
But the thing is, if Kepa's worth 70 million, if his market price is 70 million, then Martinez is 100 million, surely. I mean, come on, we'll sell it for 100 million then.
And then we can buy Mbappe.
I think Sam is a little stung by maybe losing Szczesny in the way that we lost him, because he was a similar profile. We kind of just wanted him to succeed in a similar way, but obviously Emiliano Martinez, I mean, his story is a bit more rosy, and I think I'd say this. I think he's going to be a great keeper regardless of where he is. I think I'm more aligned with Sam in that he's transformed. I don't think he's going to regress. The kind of attitude he seems to have, how he speaks to the media, how he talked about winning the cup, the mentality he seems to have, is just fantastic. And I think obviously we'd love to have that and keep that at Arsenal, but that's a top keeper in the making, in my opinion. And I think I also agree with Stan as well in that we should sell him. We should sell him to try and raise funds for more important areas, because we have a great keeper in Bernd Leno, and we can then groom a younger keeper to eventually have the cup games and so on. So yeah,
I'm quite surprised by how many people are saying sell Leno. People quickly forget how good he was. I definitely keep both of them.
Yeah.
So let's get into Martinez. What rating would you give him, Stan?
Martinez, I think, I'd have to probably give him the same rating as Leno. I'd have to give him an equal rating, so I'd give him 8.5 as well. He's come in and done it equally. It's been seamless.
Sam?
Yeah, I'll tell you what. It's it's a real difficult one for me, because I think he's come in and performed better than Leno. But the thing is, it's only 12 games or something like that. So You know, it's not. You can't really. It's not going to be fair, that rating. You know, because it's not through a whole season. You know, it's not through the ups and downs. He's come in and performed consistently, which for me gives hope of him maintaining that level of ability, because before he was in and out of the team. He was in for a cup game, out again, in for a cup game. And as a goalkeeper, you got to keep playing games. You got to have that stability to stay good, you know, to stay switched on. So Martinez, having come in and played about 12 games or whatever it is now, you know, consistently and been consistently good. I'm not that worried about him dropping back to, you know, those shaky games we've seen him previously. But the thing is, for me, those 12 games, he's been awesome. Yeah. He's been so good. He has won us games. You know, he's had world-class, amazing saves. You know, he's been good with distribution. He's been good coming out, claiming crosses, you know. So for me, this is not going to make sense. And I just want to... For me, I've got to give him a 9 based on his performance and what he's done for us in these 11, 12 games, whatever it is. I have to give him a 9. But I'm not going to say he's been a better player over the length of the season than Leno. For me, Leno would still come ahead of him as a better player for the whole season, if that makes sense.
Yeah, Stan, thank you for keeping us updated with the chat box. It's moving so fast. Thank you, sir, for being here. Thank you, Arsenal Alex. Thank you, Elliot John. Yeah, David and everyone else. Zoom, what did you give Martinez for the season?
I think I'm kind of in between Sam and Stan. I'd also give him, I think, a solid, like a really, really strong 8.5 if we can, because of the FA Cup win. I mean, honestly, Emi Martinez came in and, just like the guys said, so seamlessly. He didn't really he helped build up. I mean, he was part of that amazing goal that we scored against Manchester City in the semifinal. 18 passes, and we were passing the ball arrogantly in our own penalty area. Arrogantly, I'd say. And I think because of such moments and because of such assuredness, he brought such calm to our back five or whatever, our defense. And because he helped us win a trophy, I'd give him a higher rating than Bernd Leno. So I stick with my 8 and 8.5 for Emi Martinez. I wouldn't say 9 because he did still have his shaky moments, but he's been fantastic. He's been absolutely brilliant.
Thank you. So just one word, yes or no. Let's start with you, Sam. When Leno went down against Brighton, were you worried, yes or no?
I was worried. Listen, I mean, at that point, Martinez for me was, yeah, he's a good goalkeeper, but is he gonna come in and do the job over, for the rest of the season? I was a bit worried, but he's proven me wrong. I think he's proven everyone wrong. I think
Any kids on the chat, what Sam has just done, that is definitely not one word. So when your teachers tell you one word in school, make sure you follow that. Stan, yes or no, worried when Leno went down?
Very worried, yes, I was.
Zuhum?
Yeah, very.
So let's get into the right back now. Thank you, Sam. You're still a legend. So Bellerin, let's start with you, Zuhum, on Bellerin. Bellerin season. So
what's interesting for me is Bellerin as a topic, as a whole for me, because whenever I have discussions about Bellerin as a footballer, people seem content, but to this day, I'm still not happy with him as a footballer. If I'm being honest, I don't like the way he dribbles with the ball. I don't like him as much as the other right backs or the benchmarks in right back positions. I don't think he's technically gifted. I think at best he's a great sprinter. But if I were to rate his season, I think I'd give him a 6.57 thereabouts. I don't know where exactly, but I think I'd go with 7 because we won the FA Cup. The FA Cup just adds this gloss, doesn't it? But yeah, I'd go with a 7 because he never really came back to his best. But at the same time, I'm forgiving in that I know obviously he's coming back from a horrible knee injury, which the kind of knee injury that affects your pace. I mean, you never really know if you're going to come back to your full pace or your full speed and full agility. Because I remember him a lot more agile. I remember him a lot more nimble. And in the first 5 yards, he was a lot faster. But he kind of brought that back against Chelsea in the FA Cup final, didn't he? I mean, obviously that burst of speed to eventually lead to the Aubameyang second goal. That was critical. That was pivotal in getting that goal. And yeah, I think I'm going to stick with 7 because he's been a great leader on and off the pitch. I think his work ethic can't be faulted. His attitude can't be faulted. He's had shaky moments, but he comes back again and again and again. So I'm going to go with 7 with Hector Bellerin. So yeah.
No, that makes a lot of sense to me.
Yeah.
I wouldn't really agree. For me, though, I don't know where Glenn is. Glenn's still gone, hasn't he? Yeah. I wouldn't give him a 7 because he's had too many poor performances for me, and also there was that time when we weren't even sure if he was going to come back into the team because that Maitland-Niles was looking better than him, and then it was like when Suarez finally got that chance to start a game and he looked pretty good. I think the Bellerin sort of realised, wow, I better get my stuff together here now because I'm really on my way out of the team now. And I think seeing Suarez play that well has sort of boosted Bellerin to play better. I think we've seen more out of Bellerin now the last few games at the end of the season because of that, because of the competition there now. But for me, throughout the whole season, Bellerin just hasn't been that good. I mean, like you say, he's lost some of the pace. I know coming back from an ACL injury takes a long time. It's a tough injury to come back from, but it's like you say, with the ball, he makes so many bad decisions with the ball. He's not good positionally. You know, what we used to get out of him was his speed, and he could overlap and get around and cross in a ball half decently. That's what we used to get out of him. But now, even that bit's not really there, is it? I mean, so no. And positionally, defensive, wise, he's always out of position. He's always too close to the centre backs, or he's not marking the person he should be marking. He lacks a lot defensively, but he at least he came back the last few games and he played very well the last few games and sort of halfway redeemed himself. But for the whole season as a whole, I can't give him more than a 6, and I think I'm being a bit kind there as well, giving him a 6, to be honest.
Thank you for covering, guys. Obviously, internet problems.
So Stan's got to give his rating.
Yeah.
Hector Bellerin, I'm in that small group that still believes that there's a place in the squad for Hector. I don't think he's finished yet. I'd like to see him another season. And I've always felt, and you hit the nail on the head, Sam, I've always felt that when Hector knows that he's not the first name on the team sheet in that position, you get more out of him. When he's got someone else that's fighting for his place, when Hector plays, he plays better. So I'd like to see him, and if it's going to be Ainsley Maitland-Niles or Cedric Suarez or the three of them, duke it out for that position, because I believe that competition is healthy. For the season, I would give him I'd give him a 6.5. The half because we won the FA Cup.
Okay, so I had you saying 6.5, Zuhum?
No, I said 7 actually because of the FA Cup final. So yeah.
And Sam?
I gave him a 6.
Okay, so is it fair to rate Cedric? Has he played enough games?
I wouldn't say so, to be honest.
No,
not enough.
Let's just go to the left back position. Tierney's turn.
Kieran Tierney.
Obviously, Tierney came out, with an injury. Obviously, came with an injury and again got injured in December against West Ham. But what did you make of the other games he played?
He's rating out of 10.
Yeah.
100.
Yeah, there we go. I love that. Fair enough. Fair play.
That's it. I love the guy.
Were you happy when he joined?
Yes, I knew. Look, I've got Scottish background, right? and I've lived up in Edinburgh. I've got a lot of friends that support Celtic. Do you know what I mean? I knew I had people, as soon as the links were there, I had people texting me going like, get your hands off him, he's ours, you know? And here in Vancouver, before lockdown, the pub that I go to watch the games in, we shared a pub with a Celtic supporters club. So we've got the Arsenal supporters club in Vancouver and the Celtic supporters club in Vancouver. We're in the same pub. And there's been a few times when, you know, we're watching at the same time. The other one that I like from Celtic, because I've been talking about, is their striker, Edouard. I think we should get him. But I'm going off on a tangent. Kieran Tierney, love him to bits, my captain. And rumours have it that he's still got Armand's Traore in his Tesco's bag. He hasn't let him out yet. Still in there.
It's a good one. It's a good one. Good one.
Loving the pieces. He gets a 10. It's a bias because of the Scottish background. He's getting 10 out of 10.
Yeah, you're allowed to give him that. Yeah.
Some from a more unbiased position.
Yeah, my position's not going to be as biased as Stan's, but listen, I can definitely back the enthusiasm and how good he is. Definitely, for me, I was a bit worried when he first came in. He was looking a little bit wobbly, and then he got that shoulder injury, and I was like, oh my god, you know what's going on here. But you know, we realised we just had to persevere and then let him come in and get some time under his belt, which luckily the lockdown sort of actually gave him some time to recuperate and recover and everything. And then we actually got to see him at his best, well, close to his. I think there's more to come from Tierney, but we got to see him probably at his current best. He'll develop further and get even better, no doubt. But Tierney for me is a real solid, brilliant defender, left-sided defender. He has the attitude. He has that mentality, the winning mentality. He has the right attitude. He has that love and dedication for the game. You know, like it's lovely that whole thing about the Tesco bag. You know, because when he first came to Arsenal, he was bringing his stuff in a Tesco bag. You know, because that's him. He doesn't need anything more. And all these other players have got like £5,000 Gucci bags and all this, all the fancy leathers with Louis Vuitton and Chanel and all of this. You know. And he's just walking around with a Tesco bag because he's a kid from Scotland who knows how to play football. He doesn't need a Gucci bag, you know. And that just shows. Then you've got the right mentality. You're in football for football. You're not in football for the fame and the money. You know, I love that. And the way he plays, you know, he doesn't hold back. He gives 110%. You know, he's not afraid of anyone. He goes in on anyone. And he's got an engine on him. I'll tell you what, I can see what we've got him for. That engine he's got, you know, I'm talking about his level of endurance and fitness. I mean, that guy bombs up and down the left side of a football pitch. I'm talking he's covering 70, 80 yards regularly, up and down regularly. The ground that guy covers is amazing. And then the quality he produces both without the ball and with the ball is amazing, because normally nowadays with a wing back or a full back, you know, a player that plays out wide in defence, you're either getting more of one, or you know, you're getting more of an attacking player who's not great defensively, because that's the mould now. You're actually an extra attacking player on the wing, and you're sort of just filling out the defence, really trying to, you know, do a job in defence where you can. And then you've got the more old school players who are good at defending, but then when they get the ball, it's like, what do I do now? I'll just give it to the guy in midfield, you know. But with Tierney, you get the real McCoy going both ways. He's a great defender, positionally, you know, he tackles well, and then going forwards, he's brilliant. You know, he knows how to pass the ball. He times those balls in behind defence, and then also his crossing is incredible. He's got an amazing cross accuracy, you know, and that's what we need to get more out of him. We need to get him overlapping and crossing more, and we're going to get so many more goals out of him. We're going to see so many more assists from him. He's going to be, and they say now, they're saying, maybe you following Scottish football a bit more than me, Stan, they're saying that the Scottish national team setup, that they rate Tierney more than Robertson.
That's right.
You know, they want Tierney in ahead of Robertson for the national team. And if you're going in ahead of Robertson, then you are what you're actually getting. I would say you're on the cusp of world class. So the guy's incredible. I'm so glad we got him. We got him for next to nothing. I mean, this kid. Talk about resale value. I don't want to sell him ever. I'd love for him to stay his career at Arsenal if he could. But talk about resale value. This kid is going to be worth a huge amount of money, isn't he? If we ever had to sell him. But yeah. For me, overall, this season, he's been a great surprise to me. I mean, I didn't think he'd be this good this quick. I thought we'd have to wait until next season. So, but for me, overall, he gets an 8 as well for his contribution since the lockdown.
We'll go to the home next on Tierney and then Kolasinac. Chambers. You guys watch a lot of army movies, so I really need to reset the Wi-Fi because it's very slow. So Stan, can you cover for me for a few minutes and then I'll be back?
Sure. So who are we talking about now? Kolasinac?
Oh, we're talking about Tierney. I still haven't given my
Tierney,
rating.
Zoom's got to give his rating. Yeah, Zoom give his rating on Tierney.
To be fair to you guys, they've covered it quite well. You've mentioned exactly what my sentiments would have been. And I love him. I mean, I love that he still tucks his shirt in up until the 90th minute. He's just one of the most traditional players you can find. And that's the thing. Even his kind of profile as a left back is still quite traditional. He gets the ball and he looks to beat a man with a knock on and cross the ball. Great crosses in, by the way. So I love that he's a grafter. I love that he's so passionate about winning. You've seen the pictures of him screaming at a great challenge or even at conceding. And I use Arsenal a lot. Like I'm a gamer, I told you guys, and I use Arsenal a lot. A lot of the times, these players can use Kylian Mbappe and they can't beat Tierney. And immediately I go like, he's Scottish. You're not beating him. He's Scottish. There's no way you're beating that guy. He's a grafter. And I think that kind of rubs on to other players, doesn't it? That kind of attitude, do or die.
It's infectious.
Yeah, it is. It's very infectious. And you can see, I knew exactly what Stan meant, future captain, and I can completely agree. I'd love for him to be given that armband because he just fits it in the most British way. And it's absolutely perfect for Arsenal because I think we've missed that for a long, long time. I think we've missed that old guard British mentality that we haven't had at the club for such a long time, especially in defensive positions. So I love Kieran Tierney. I love him going forward. I love him going back. I love him as left-sided center back. I love him as wing back. I love him as left back. And I remember talking to a great Liverpool fan, friend of mine, and I told him he's actually better than Robertson because going forward, he can beat a man. He can actually dribble past the defender. And he can use trickery and guile to get the cross in. So I think he's even better, and there's a lot more to come for him. For me, solid 9, strong 9. So yeah.
What also I like about him as well is that he seems to be quite media savvy. I don't know if you've ever heard him talk to the press in his interviews. Again, he has that captain material about him, the way that he talks. And for someone that's got, I think where he seems older than his years is playing in derby matches against Rangers when he was at Celtic, because I lived in Edinburgh and they really are staunch when it comes to their football, the way that they are, in the pubs and so forth. And, he's had opportunities where he's actually captained Celtic as well, which, they don't suffer you if you're not good enough to be the captain, if you can't shoulder that. So I definitely think that he has the shoulders to carry that weight. And I really hope that somehow next season that he is the vice captain under Aubameyang, and groomed for that role, so that when eventually the armband is passed on permanently from Aubameyang, I'd love to see it go on to Kieran Tierney.
Yeah, he's got that mold. He's got that captain mold about him. He really does. Yeah, and they love him up in Edinburgh, don't they? They really do love him up there.
And like what you say about the way that he wears his kit. I always remember seeing one picture on the training ground in the winter, and he was just and the picture was a Mesut Ozil picture, and he was there all wrapped up. He had his snood on. You could just see his eyes popping out over the top. Right, I wasn't even. Yeah. I thought he was off to climb up Mount Everest or rob a bank. I wasn't sure. It didn't look like he was training to play football. But in the background, there was Kieran Tierney, short sleeved, and he even had his shorts rolled up even higher.
Love it.
Like he wanted to fight the cold weather. He wanted to fight it. And it's just things like that, and you just think to yourself, yeah, that's what you want. More of that, please.
Yeah, exactly,
definitely.
exactly.
So I think the next player that Glenn wanted us to talk about was Koscielny. No,
Yeah,
not
Kolasinac.
Kolasinac.
I don't know much about Koscielny.
Mixed up there. Yeah, long time ago. So,
Kolasinac, yeah.
Sam, what do you reckon? What's your thoughts on this season?
Well, Kolasinac has been very hit and miss, hasn't he? I mean, he has had some decent games. I think for me, he had a few decent games out at left back because his best is you know, without the ball. I'm sorry, with the ball moving forwards and just driving up the left wing, and you know, and crossing in basically to one of the forwards. So that he's done that quite well, but without the ball, he's not. He's a tough player, but he doesn't really use it that well, and he's positionally he's not great, and he just has too many off days, doesn't he? For me, he just has too many days where he's not switched on. You know, he's letting players pass him. He's not marking players, and then as that playing in that left-sided centre back role, he had a couple of decent games there, and then he just switched off again. He just didn't. He just couldn't really maintain it.
You know, before he came to us, wasn't he in the Bundesliga
team of the year?
Like that.
He was a very good player in Germany. But this is the thing, you know. This is the thing. This is actually a good topic for a separate discussion. But you know, there's so many players who are very, very good in Germany, but they make the switch to the Premier League, and they just don't do it. You know, they just can't keep it up. They can't match the same level of consistency. So, yeah, Kolasinac is another one of those, unfortunately. Same with XHAKA. XHAKA was also very, very good in the Bundesliga, but, you know, the Premier League just moves a bit too quick for him. Anyway, that's a different discussion. But, yeah, Kolasinac, for me, overall, the season, disappointing, I would have to say. And for me, he gets... I know I'm probably maybe say a bit harsher, but if I'm looking at... I gave Bellerin a 6, then I just have to give Kolasinac a 5. I can't give him better than a 5.
As high as that?
That's quite high.
Wow.
Well, I thought he had some decent games, to be honest. I thought he had some decent games at the beginning of the season, and he had some decent games at left centre, a couple of decent games at left centre back. But yeah, overall, not great. But listen, for me, for someone to get like a 3 or 4, you got to really be piss poor. You know, consistently piss poor to get that for me. And for me, he's not quite there. So he's a 5.
And what about yourself, Zoom?
Yeah, I think I'd go with a 5. He was average at best, and I think he was part of a much bigger problem in terms of how poor we were in possession. I mean, I remember up until the Sheffield game in the FA Cup. Up until then, he'd had about a success rate in his passing of about in the 60s thereabouts, and it kind of felt like we were always accommodating him for his physical presence in that back three, and not necessarily for his positional play or his quality going forward. And that's the thing. Even when we did manage to play him at left wing back, and we did manage to get him up there, I remember him falling over his own feet when he gets to the byline. All you have to do is square it, my guy. Please, that's all I'm asking for. Just sort your feet out. But then defensively, he can switch off just as easily as he can be switched on.
He's just not there, is he? He's just not there.
Exactly. Yeah. And that's the thing. I don't think we can afford to keep. I remember when we let go of Nacho Monreal, I thought to myself, Nacho Monreal at his age is far better than Kolasinac at playing left wing back, and at playing left back, and at playing at left center back. So why I didn't understand us keeping. I'd imagine it was mostly sentimental, but what a role model Kieran Tierney would have had in someone like Nacho Monreal. But yeah, I'm just utterly disappointed by said Kolasinac. I think a 5. I can understand why you'd give him a 5, especially after winning a trophy. He was part of us winning the FA Cup, but I think I'm going to go with a very, very strong 4.5 for Sead Kolasinac.
4.5.
Yeah,
Okay.
4.5.
So listen, if
What's Stan going to give him? What are you going to give him, Stan?
I just want to say, listen, if you're tuning in and you wonder what you're watching the Stan the Man Show with my two lovely guests, Greenwood TV and Zoom.
It has a nice ring to it.
You're watching the Glenn Knightley show, and he will be Glenn Knightley's show, and I'm sure he'll be back shortly. KOLASINAC, for me, well, in the chat box, Sir Levy gave him a 5.5, but you know what? I'm going to go with Elliot John with a 3. I actually think
Wow.
Yeah, I mean, we've got this guy for free now. I think if we can turn a profit on him, however much, you know, if we can get 10 million euros, 15 million euros for him, you know, we made some money back, and let's move on from that.
Oh yeah, sell him. Definitely sell him. Yeah.
A disaster and a nightmare waiting to happen. And he's part of what I call, if you watch my FIFA rebuilds on Claude TV, I've got this group of players which I've named the shitbag 6. And he's part of it. I've been trying to break them up for my FIFA rebuild, right? I'm breaking them up. He is part of the shitbag 6. So
if I had one, he'd be a part of it too. I completely understand.
So let's go to David Luiz. We've not spoken about him, have we? He's not had a mention yet.
No, we haven't got to him yet. No.
What are your thoughts on David Luiz?
Oh, he's another difficult one because the guy's like he's like being at Alton Towers. You know, one of the worst roller coasters at Alton Towers. He's up and down, up and down, up and down. You know, one game he's brilliant, switched on, brilliant tackles, does everything you need, and then the next game he's just nowhere to be seen, switched off, letting players in, getting red cards, giving the ball away. I mean, the guy's just so inconsistent. For me, there's something up here in his head. You know, it's you know, I mean, he doesn't. He seems to have trouble staying switched on. You know, consistently, and that's a worry for me. Like I've said before, the same with Mustafi. Even though Mustafi has been a lot better, I think, than Luiz when it comes to consistency now since the restart. I'm going to say the same for Mustafi and Luiz. They're two players who, even though you've seen they've improved and you can sort of, you can see that they've been better since the restart. I just can't trust them. I can't trust Luiz. I can't trust Mustafi because you just know one game they're just going to F it up. They're going to give the ball away. It's going to be a penalty. Going to be a red card. They're going to, you know, it's going to be some big, huge mistake to give the ball to an attacker. It just happens too often with these guys. And unfortunately for me, David Luiz, even though he is a good leader, I think he does a lot more with his mouth than he does with his legs, so to speak.
Yeah.
And I think that's helped a lot of the young kids a lot in the team. He's been a good motivational figure in the dressing room and on the training ground. But for me, his lack of consistency up and all the mistakes he's made, I can't. For me, I can't. I know it's probably going to sound harsh, you know, compared to Bellerin and KOLASINAC. For me, I can't give him more than a 6. I just can't. A 6, and I think I'm being kind in giving him a 6, to be honest.
Very kind.
Yeah.
Incidentally, David Luiz and Mustafi are also members of the shitbag 6.
Yeah.
No.
And Luiz is a player. Luiz is a player. I would sell him because I just know we can do better. You know, I would sell him because of his inconsistencies, and you can't trust him.
And what was your rating? Sorry, again, you gave him.
Yeah, I'm giving him, but just because he's had some good games and he's been part of that whole FA Cup, you know, set up and everything. I'm giving him a 6. Because he has had some good games and everything, but he's close between a 5 and a 6. Let's put it that way. But I'm gonna give him the benefit of the doubt and give him a 6.
And you kind of spoke about Mustafi as well. So what would you give his number?
Yeah, Mustafi for me. He would have been a 5, but he's gone up to a 6 because of what he's done since lockdown. Since lockdown, he's been a lot more consistent, a lot more. He's shown a lot more ability there at the back, and but still, I can't trust him. I just can't trust the guy.
Yeah,
you never know what you're going to get.
What about yourself, Zoom? David Luiz and Mustafi as well. Put him in there as well.
Yeah, I think for different reasons, they're both going to get 5.5. David Luiz, I mean, I can understand why he gave 6, why Sam gave him a rating of 6. I mean, those performances where he played really well, he played really, really, really well. I mean, it was almost flawless, his performance against Man City, for example, or against Liverpool. And I think regardless of how well he played in those few games, the elephant in the room is those penalties and errors leading to goals. I mean, just you because you can't trust them, because you never know when it's going to spring up on you. It could be in a game that doesn't matter. It could be in a game that really freaking matters, and you just never know when. And why I give him the 0.5 is honestly because of he's kind of decent on the ball. You know, he'd given an assist to Aubameyang. And I think we're gonna go 5.5. But I wish, Sam, I could tell you that we could sell him, but obviously we've extended his contract.
I would love to sell him though.
Yeah, I could only hope it's to
What are
keep
your
him
thoughts
as
on
squad
that?
depth.
What are your thoughts on his contract getting extended for another year?
I can see why. I can see it because Arteta rates him, and he's got, he's a motivational figure as well. And I think next season I don't think he's going to be starting next season. I don't think he's going to be starting next season.
I think in terms of squad depth, we're going to have a bit. Sorry,
so I'm just saying that's going to be an expensive bench warmer if you don't think he's going to be starting. He's on big money, isn't he?
Yeah, he's on big wages.
That's because of his initial contract, isn't it?
Yeah, I think with David Luiz, even at squad depth, I thought we had more than enough that we needed to keep David Luiz for an extra year. But I understand at the time when we extended it, Callum Chambers is obviously off the pitch, and Rob Holding was just coming back. So I understood why they gave it to him, but surely he has to be kept in squad depth at best for any, an increased number of games in the Europa League. So I can understand that. Maybe he can be the experience that goes out with a very young squad as we focus on the Premier League. But Mustafi, I think, I'm going to give 5.5 for Mustafi simply because he was more consistent than David Luiz. But that doesn't say much about you if David Luiz is the benchmark. It doesn't say much about
that's your benchmark, yeah.
Yeah.
Also, tell me about Rob Holding, and I'll come back to Sam and Rob Holding as well. Let's get all the defenders done. You can even throw Sokratis if you want, if you feel the need to throw in Sokratis.
Yeah, fair enough. Fair enough. I think, like I said, SHKODRAN Mustafi at 5.5 because he could be beaten by anybody. He could be beaten by a simple 1-2 with what was his name? What was that Brighton player that injured? Mopai, yeah. And he could be beaten by a little shoulder tap with Harry Kane in the North London derby. It's not good enough. Yeah,
too soft.
Exactly.
He's the luckiest football player on the planet. The guy is a World Cup winner because the German squad, they had a defender who pulled out. I can't remember which one, but a defender had to pull out, and they called in Mustafi instead he was a reserve. They called him in, so he got into the World Cup. He became a World Cup winner. The guy is so lucky.
It's ridiculous. I never bought into that. To be fair, I never bought into that World Cup winner stuff because they weren't a strong part of it, and neither was SAKA. To be fair to him as well, they weren't a strong part of that push, that win. Rob Holding, though, look, he's getting back to his best. I'm going to give him a decent 7, a strong 7, because he's coming back to his best. He also had a horrible injury as well, and he's there's a reason you looked forward to him replicating his performance against Diego Costa in the 2017 final, and he kind of brought that element back, and I loved seeing him compete the way he did with Sadio Mane in the Liverpool game. It was all love.
He was a beast. He was a beast.
Yeah, he was.
He knocked him over like a bowling pin, didn't he?
Exactly. And I think he really rejuvenated the central defense with some classic English defending skills. I think, with his last-ditch defending, I mean, obviously he's slow. We understand that. Pulisic showed us how slow he was in that cup final. But the thing is, he has this very strong mentality of just making it back all the way to the byline and blocking off the cross. That's the kind of centre-back he is. And I think I'm going to give him that 7, also in part to a solid performance in the FA Cup final. So yeah, or rather the FA Cup run.
Yeah, you might as well do Sokratis as well, and then finish off on the defenders.
Oh right, Sokratis. I mean, I don't know what happened with him. I thought he was probably one of the better defenders under Unai Emery, even though he had his missed passes and his weird moments. However, I think the way he fell off just says a lot in terms of how we want to move forward as a club. Yeah, I'm gonna go with, I think 5 at best. It's very average season. He wasn't good. He wasn't bad. And I don't think it was in part all his fault. So yeah, 5.
So Sam, what about? Let's come back to you, Sam. We missed out. We missed out with you, Rob Holding, Sokratis. What were your thoughts on those two?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think there's a lot more I can add really to what's been said about Holding. I think he's improving again now. He's coming back to that level we expect.
A lot of people saying that they don't like Holding. They want Holding gone. What's your thoughts on that?
Well, the thing is, I think everyone's expecting a Van Dijk. I mean, not everyone can be Van Dijk, right? Not everyone can be a Franco. Not everyone can be 1994 Franco Baresi, AC Milan. I mean, it's you got to have a realistic approach to this, how football works. And Rob Holding is a good defender. I think he has a lot of good games. He's strong. He's good in the air.
Sam, may I
decent.
interject? Sam?
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
Very good point. Sorry about the good defender, because Chelsea fans were saying they'd love Rob Holding in their defense.
Yeah.
They'd love him.
Yeah, they've had problems.
Very good defender.
They've had problems with their central defense, haven't they? Even Chelsea, they're not really happy with their defense. Rob Holding, for me, he's just a classic defender. He does the job right. He's got a good attitude. He's strong. You saw he basically turned Mane into a bowling pin. He's done well. He's done well. Yes, he's had some mistakes. So has everyone. Even Van Dijk had a couple of terrible mistakes this season, So he's human. Everyone's like, wow, he's human after all. They're human beings. They're not machines. So for me, the fans are just so... I think they expect far too much from so many players. They don't let them develop. Rob Holding, he's still got some development to do, and I think he will improve. And he's a good player. I want to keep him. I'd rather sell Mustafi, I'll actually sell LUIZ. I know he's staying now, but I would sell him. I'll keep Holding. I think Holding's got a lot there. For me, his season, he's had a good season. I know he's been injured and everything, and he's had some games where he hasn't been great. He needed some time to get back into things. So that's why he gets a 7 for me. But apart from, if it wasn't for that, if he'd have started the season like he finished it and developed and got to, actually shown, to where his potential is, I think he would have been, probably done a lot better. But yeah, it's a solid 7 for me for Holding. I want to keep him. Sokratis, not very good, unfortunately. He's a bit slow. He's just not mobile as he should be. He's a bit too in the old mold of a defender. Is strong and not very great positionally. And well, we need to move him on. We need to sell him. And for the season, about 5 again. He's had a couple of decent games, but overall, he's not been great. So about 5 for Sokratis as well.
Thank you, Stan. Thank you, Sam. Thank you, Zoom. I'm guessing I'm getting a lower rating than Kolasinac for the last 20 minutes. Definitely.
We've left out Chambers. We've still got Chambers to go as well, haven't we? We've got so many defenders. Chambers as well, isn't it?
You've not seen him.
You've done.
I like him.
Dan, you've done LUIZ. You've done LUIZ, Sokratis, Kolasinac.
Yep, and Mustafi.
Mustafi.
Yep, and Mustafi.
So, And Holding too.
Yes.
And Holding.
Also, let me get a quick keep or sell. Zuhum, Chamber, Mustafi, keep or sell?
Mustafi, I think I'd sell.
Sell.
LUIZ?
LUIZ as well.
I wish we
Socrates?
could. I wish we could sell LUIZ, but
I would, but we can't. And Sokratis as well. I'd sell him.
all members
Holding?
of the Shitbag Six.
Shitbag 6, I like it.
Yeah. You should
about
make that a
Holding,
thing, Stan. Holding, I would definitely keep him.
Hashtag Shitbag 6.
Yeah.
You agree? You agree with that, Sam Mustafi?
Yeah, sell him.
LUIZ?
I would sell LUIZ. I think we need to move on from him.
Socrates?
Yeah, goodbye.
Holding?
No, keep him. I like Holding. I think he's got a lot to show, yeah.
Stan, LUIZ?
David Luiz, yes, I'll go.
Mustafi?
Go.
Socrates?
Go.
Holding?
Keep.
You all said Kolasinac go, I'm guessing.
Yeah.
Go.
Bye-bye.
You do realize we still need some defenders, right? That's what I heard you guys saying sell for everyone.
Well, we'd have
thank you.
Holding, Chambers. We'd have William Saliba. We'll still have Pablo Mari. We may even have Dino Mavropanos, and maybe another cheeky one may come in, like a Mangala or someone like that. So we look thin because there's been some injuries, but we're actually quite good in that position, aren't we? Really, we get rid of quite a lot.
Yeah, interesting that Mustafi and Socrates have both covered at right back for maybe even 8 or 9 games this season. Chambers has also done the same. So, rating for Chambers this season. Sam?
Yeah, he's again. He's had some tough games, hasn't he? And he's been away injured and everything, and he's just not been consistent. But there's still something in him there that I think something's in him there. If he actually got a run of games and got some consistency, he could show something. But I don't think Arsenal's going to be the club for him. I don't think we've got Saliba, we've got Pablo Mari, Holding. I think if we're going to bring in another solid centre back, I just don't see Chambers really with a future at Arsenal. To be honest, the season overall for me, he gets 6 because he had some decent games. He's had some poor games. I'll give him a 6, and I would say for Chambers again, if we're going to bring in another centre back, quality centre back, I think Chambers we could probably get rid of him.
Stan?
Yeah, I'm a big fan of Callum Chambers. I think that he could become a valuable part of our squad in the same way that maybe James Milner is to Liverpool, because you can stick Callum Chambers in at right back. He's played at left back as well and done very well there. He plays at centre back, and it can also play in defensive midfield, where he got Player of the Season for Fulham. So I think that because of that flexibility, he could be worth keeping. He didn't cost us a lot of money, and if we were going to sell him, I don't think that he's the sort of player that's going to raise a lot of money, So I think that he's a warm body, but he does have something about him. He's a lot of the players that we've mentioned. I'd rather him stay than Chambers is not in the Shitbag 6.
No, he's not.
So, he's not in that gang at all.
Rating out of 10?
A rating out of 10. Well, we haven't seen him for that much this season, but what we did see of him, even under Unai Emery, he was one of the bright spots for me under Unai Emery. And I would say that I would give him, in those few games, just based on those few games, I'd give him a 7.
Zoom?
I share both Sam and Stan's sentiments about Callum Chambers. I'd keep him first and foremost, because of his versatility, just like they mentioned. Also because he's a bit of an Arsenal man now, isn't he? He's been at the club for a long time, and he understands what it means to play for Arsenal. But also, he hasn't played that much, and when he did play, he was quite good. Not very good, decent. So I'd give him a rating of a 6 as well. I think I'd give him just about that. Just about makes a 6.
Definitely him, Martinez and Ozil are now the most serving, the longest serving players are at Arsenal remaining. So let's go to the midfielders. At least a bright spark. Saka, Sam, this season.
Saka's been a revelation, hasn't he? Came in and done a great job. I think he's one of our brightest prospects together with Martinelli. Brilliant player, versatile. He did a great job at left back. He's a good left-sided forward. He can score goals. He can create goals. He's a player for the future. I think we've got a lot more to come from him, a lot more to see from him. And for me, even though we haven't really seen that much of him now at the end of the season, because we've seen other players, Aubameyang's been used out left there, and we've had Tierney come in at the wing back role. We haven't really had any room for Saka, so we haven't really seen that much of him. But listen, he's had a great season overall. I'll give him an 8 for the season that he's had, and for me, he's one of the 3 potential players of the season, and definitely keep. No way selling him is.
Yeah, we haven't seen much of him at the end of the season, but to be fair, we aren't expecting to see what we've seen of him this season, so I guess that covers for it. Zuhum, Saka?
He has to get a 9 in terms of his season, because to come in and do what he did at his age is remarkable. And look, I'm not suggesting that he's one of the talents of the world that's going to be a future Arsenal legend. I honestly don't know how his trajectory is going to be, because I don't see the raw talent that I see in some of the other youngsters around us, guys like Mason Greenwood, for example. But I understand they're different positions. But what I love about him is that he has this footballing IQ that we used to say Walcott didn't have. He can play in those different positions and play them very, very effectively. The quality of his delivery is fantastic. He knows positionally as well where to be in different moments, in different phases of play. And obviously, to come up with those numbers at that age, amazing. Wasn't he just a few assists off Trent Alexander-Arnold and Kevin De Bruyne? Wasn't he the 3rd highest? I think so. I think I'm going to give him a 9, and I can't wait to see what Arteta does with him, because I know Arteta can bring the best out of him in a similar way that he did with guys like Sterling and Sané.
Obvious skip for you, I'm guessing. Saka, let me just let Stan talk about him. Just go ahead.
It's really hard for me to say anything much more than the lads have already said. I would echo everything that they've said about Saka. I'd give him an 8, maybe an 8.5. I love the way, again, that he's flexible and happy to play in other positions where he's needed, and it must be fantastic for the manager to see that. Not only can he stick him into other positions where he's needed, you get a good performance out of him as well. He doesn't look like somebody who's playing out of their position. I think he's got a long future ahead of him in the game, and I'll keep it short and sweet because the lads have basically covered it all, and I'll give him an 8.
Yeah, one of the few players who have covered for us in the Europa League, in the FA Cup, in the Premier League. Mostly players like Aubameyang, apart from the semi-final and the final, he didn't play in the FA Cup. The other games, players have been switched up, but Saka has been consistent in all the competitions. So for me, I'm going to agree with Zuhum. I'm going to give him a 9. Maitland-Niles, Sam?
Maitland-Niles, I'll tell you what, he's turning into a great utility player for us. We can use him anywhere. I mean, we can use him out left. We can use him on the right back. We can use him anywhere across midfield, really. So he's turning into a very good utility player. It'll be interesting to see if he stays at Arsenal, because I know he's not really, unless he's changed his mind now because he's getting to play and he's feeling more part of everything, the setup with Arteta. Unless he's changed his mind, he has previously said he doesn't want to play in those positions. His preferred role is central midfield. So whether we're going to move him on or that, for that, or wait and see. But yeah, he's had a good season. plugged a lot of holes, had some good performances from him, important performances against Wolves. You know, he did really well. He did well against Manchester City as well in the FA Cup semi-final. So you know, he overall he's had a good season. I have to give him a solid 7 for me, and definitely keep him. I would like to keep him because he's such a versatile player.
Yeah, I want you guys in the comments. There are players here we could like talk about for 30 minutes. So this could have easily been 6 hours. So we're just going to rush through the others.
Yeah, we have to go a bit quicker through the rest now. Yeah, I think.
Yeah. Zuhum-Niles rating.
Like Maitland-Niles, he came back from the dead for me a bit. I think I'd give him a strong 8 as well because of his performances. He looks a different player under Mikel Arteta. I'm going to go with an 8, and I definitely keep him.
Sam, you said you're going to keep him?
Yes, I want to keep him, yes. Yeah.
Stan?
I'm undecided about Ainsley Maitland-Niles. Sometimes I'm like, yeah, I don't think he's going to make it. Other times I look at him and I think, oh, it looks like there's a player in there. So I'm a little bit on the fence, got to see a little bit more. But my rating for him would be 7.
There's also that option of loaning out the players, and maybe it's one of those players we could loan out. So Granit Xhaka, Stan, will start with you. Obviously not the best of seasons at the beginning, but a revelation after Arteta came. So overall, the entire season, what do you think of him?
I'm not a fan of Granit Xhaka. I understand why he gets picked a lot in the team. I'm just not a fan of him. The rating that I have to give him, I have to be fair though. I can't just give him a rating because I'm not a fan of him, but the rating on his performance, then I would have to say overall for the season and where we've ended up in the season, I'd have to give him a 7 as well. But I would sell him at the first opportunity.
You'd sell him?
At the first opportunity if I had my way.
Sam?
Yeah, I pretty much agree with what Stan's saying there. I can see why we use him because he's that player who does those things. At the moment, we don't really have anyone else who can do those things, and we need that in midfield. We need that deep lying player who can sort of hold a position and spread the ball around. But you know, I'm not going to go through all his shortcomings. We already know that he's not really up to it, and we do need to replace him. For me, we need to bring in a top level player who can come in and do better than him. He is one of our weaker links, I would say, unfortunately, because again, he's one of those players I just don't trust. He'll have 1 or 2 good games, and he'll have 1 or 2 nightmares and gives the ball away too easily, out of position, etc. Anyway, so overall, yeah, definitely since the restart, he has done a lot better. He's improved a lot, and for me, that's why I'm going to give him. I agree with Stan. I'm going to give him a 7 overall when you look at what he's done throughout the season. But I do want to sell him. I want to get money for him and bring in someone better.
Zuhum?
I'd go a bit further and also include Dani Ceballos in that because he pretty much just whatever they said applies to Dani Ceballos as well, except I'd keep him at best as a squad player in my opinion. But yeah, I don't think Granit Xhaka can. I don't think he's the kind of player that would like to stay on the bench, and he could easily get toxic. So I think I'd sell him, but keep Dani Ceballos, and they both get a similar rating of around 7. They're about 7.
Well, you made that very easy. So let's just go direct to Ceballos, Stan.
Yeah.
Dani Ceballos, it's taken me a while to warm to him because I saw, you know, there was a period where, other than that Burnley game, I didn't really see much. But towards the end of the season, he's now looking an important part of the squad. And I would say, if there's a chance to extend him on loan for another season, I'd be happy with that. And if it meant that we had maybe 22 million, if there was an asking price to buy and it was around 22 million, I'd be happy with that. I wouldn't be happy though if we were going to shell out, say, 30 to 40 million. I just think that if you really wanted to spend 40 million, you could do better. And all because he's already wearing an Arsenal shirt, it doesn't mean that we should just make do because he's already here. But I like him. He's improved a lot towards the end of the season, and he has impressed me.
Out of 10?
Sorry, out of 10. I'd have to give him a 7.5.
Sam? Tobias?
Yeah, I agree very much with what Stan's saying there. He took him a while to sort of show what he was good for. He had a lot of substandard games, but I bet since the lockdown, he's just improved. Just about every game he's played, he's looked better and better. He had 3 great games in a row now at the end of the season. You know, he's really taking that midfield role well now. He's a good, he's a good carrier of the ball. He distributes the ball well, and he seems to be finding his way in the team now, which is promising. You know, he seems to be finding out how he fits into the team now. So yeah, he's come a long way. But previously in the season, he wasn't that good. So I have to give him a rating based on the season as a whole. So for me, he lands on a 7 based on that. But I do want to keep him because you see he brings a lot to the team now. So I do want to keep him. If it's a loan, fine. And like I said, you know, I agree with what Stan said. If the price Real Madrid want to give us is about 20-25 million, fine. But if it's going to be, you know, 30, 35, 40 million plus, I agree that's too much. It's you know, we're gonna move on from there. But yeah, he's come a long way.
You guys have covered the price. Let me just ask Zuhum, if I were to buy him for 30 million, would you take him?
No. Even that 22 million, I think, is quite a bit, Stan, to be fair.
Wow.
It's the kind of market we are in right now.
I think we can. I know, but I think we can do better with the 25 million. He needs to be stronger, in my opinion.
Okay, let me cover the youngsters now. Willock, Sam?
Willock, for me, I don't know. It's not biased. I just like the kid. I like he's got a drive on the ball. He's direct. He likes to go at players. And unfortunately, when Emery was using him and he was looking really good, and all of a sudden he just dropped him, and that's where he sort of lost a lot of his momentum and his development. When all of a sudden he just got dropped. But he's a player who can do a lot. Unfortunately, I don't think he's going to fit into this midfield at Arsenal. If we bring in another couple of players, high quality players, he's just not going to fit in. He's going to be right out in the edges of the squad somewhere. And I think he's going to be one of the players we're going to have to move on. To be honest, I don't like it because I like the kid. Like I said, he's shown a lot of promise, but we've just got to be real with it. And so for me, it's the season overall. I've got to give him a 6.5, not quite a 7 because he's had a few poor games and you know he's used a lot as a substitute, unfortunately. And yeah, those games he looked really good. All of a sudden he was dropped and he didn't get to show any more, you know, of his ability. So yeah. There's a lot in him, but I don't think he's going to be doing it at Arsenal, unfortunately. So 6.5 for the season, and I do think I don't want to sell him, but I think we're going to end up selling him or loaning him out at least, loaning him out to some decent club at least, probably selling him.
Okay, so I'm sorry, just give me the rating and keep or sell for Willock.
Sell 5.
Stan?
Honestly, I don't like him that much.
I'm not impressed with Willock. And I just want to say something as well. Willock, Eddie NKETIAH and Reiss Nelson, for me, I'm like, Jesus, how would they play football in a packed stadium? Because they look like they struggle to me in an empty one.
Exactly.
All 3 of them, to me, look surprised to be here. And at any minute, they're going to get found out that they're not really that good enough. I would say Eddie being the better of that 3, Willock being in the middle, and worst one being Nelson. The 3 of them, I do not ever see them ever being a first name that you would put on the starting lineup for Arsenal. A couple of them, maybe squad players at best, but the 3 of them, I'd give all of them a 5.
Yeah,
all of them are 5.
One of them would get a 5.
NKETIAH, Nelson?
Fully agree, except NKETIAH a 4. I just don't like him. I just don't understand how he plays as a striker. He doesn't look like he knows how to play as a striker. So a 4.5, I think.
They are quite important in our quite important in our early FA Cup run, Portsmouth, Bournemouth, Leeds. We only go through because of those youngsters. Stan is talking about Nelson, Willock's goals and all that. Sam, Nketiah, and Nelson.
Yeah, Reece Nelson for me not quite there. He's not quite good enough. He shows glimps, but he's just not consistent. He's not pulling his weight as he should. He's been on loan several times already, so I think we just cash in on him now. Just get what we can.
There are 3 players I want us to talk about at the end in a bit of detail. So I want to go through. Obviously, I know you'll keep Aubameyang, obviously. So rating for Aubameyang, Sam?
Aubameyang, key player this season. All the goals we got from him, vital goals. Yeah, he gets even though it's a weird one because he's had many games where he hasn't really played well, but he still scores important goals. You know, he just comes out of nowhere and scores them. So for me, performance-wise, I can't really give him more than about 7.5 really because of his performances. But with his goals, you've got to give him an 8. So I've got to give him an 8 for all his goals, really.
Stan?
Yeah, I'm giving him a 9. The only reason he doesn't get a 10 is because only Tierney gets that number. So
Okay.
I'm giving him a 9. He's a key player for us.
Yeah,
I think I'd give him a 9.5 to be honest, because
Wow.
yeah, I mean think about it, guys. We were 16th in created chances in the Premier League this season, and against all the other top scorers, Aubameyang apparently had touched the ball fewer times than Harry Kane, than Aguero, than Jamie Vardy, than Mohamed Salah, and Sadio Mane in the box. He'd had fewer touches in the box than all of them. So I thought if we were a much more well-oiled machine going forward, well, you know, the sky was the limit for someone like Aubameyang. But I also understand what Sam is saying. He can be a bit peripheral sometimes in his performances. So I'd give him a 9.5 and obviously keep.
I'd give him a 9 because he dropped the trophy. We can't have something like that ever again. I'd have given him a 10, but he dropped the trophy, so I'm going to give him a 9. So after Aubameyang, let's go to Pepe. Sam, Pepe.
The biggest disappointment for me this season, unfortunately, he's not producing the goods for me. He shows glimpses again. He'll have a decent game here or there, decent. He shows some of his dribbling. He's okay, but the guy, I call him Long John Silver. He's got one leg. He's only got one leg. He's got that left peg of his, and the right one. All he can do with his right leg is stand on it. You see, every time he gets the ball, he has to move inside and use his left leg. You know, and it's just any defender with a brain is going to have an easy time defending against that. So we have to make Pepe more effective. We have to play him in behind, more direct. We have to use his speed, and we have to be able to get him closer to the box, into the box, where he can use that left foot then to shoot. Because out wide with the left, if all you got out wide is a left foot, you're not going to go anywhere. And that's what we've seen all season long. As soon as he's pushed out wide, he's hopeless. He can't do anything because that right foot of his, he can hardly stand on it. You know, every time he uses the right foot, it's hopeless. You know, and he uses it as little as possible. He always turns in and uses his left foot. But yeah, for me, big disappointment, unfortunately, because of the expectations I had going in. You know, the biggest signing, he looked really good. You know what he did previously in France. I thought he was I knew he was gonna take a little bit of time to settle, because, you know, players do, but I thought by now he's played like 35 games or whatever. I thought by now he would start showing us some real good stuff. And for me, he's not there yet. He's just not there yet, and he's disappointing. So for me, he gets a 6.
Zuhum?
Ooh. I understand everything that Sam is saying. I completely agree. He does need to offer a lot more. People keep complaining about him, saying that we don't necessarily give him the ball in advanced positions, but there were many times, like Sam said, where he found himself 1v1 with some of the biggest left backs in Burns, for example, the Brighton left back, and still couldn't take him on and beat him. So he was very disappointing in that regard. But towards the end of the season, he did have an upturn in form. He did look a bit more alive.
on the pitch, and he did look a bit more confident. I think obviously we keep him. We give him another go under Arteta in a more settled team, but yeah, I think at best you give him a 7.
Speaking of Arteta, Stan, do you think the managerial changes have affected Pepe, and do you think we suit his style?
I don't know it just seems that the managers have been a little bit lukewarm towards Pepe. You think that when you buy someone for 72 million, you're going to put them in the team every week. And I've always felt that Pepe is a player that doesn't need rhythm. And he's been in the team and out of the team, back in the team, and he'll have a really good game. And then the next game, he's not in the starting lineup. And I don't think that has served him very well. My rating for him would be, before I give you my rating, I'll just say one other thing. There's been a few times this season when I've seen Chelsea playing that I've seen Pulisic play, and I found myself saying to myself, why isn't Pepe doing that?
Yeah.
Why doesn't Pepe do that? Pepe should be doing that sort of stuff. So that tells you where you know what the difference is for me of what I was expecting to get. Like Zoom said, we give him another go next season. Maybe there's a little bit more. You know, next season we'll be more settled for him. And I'm going to give him a rating of 6.5.
You know, the thing is, when we signed him, looking at the YouTube highlights of all his goals and stuff, he seemed like that player who goes behind the defender, goes in behind, scores one-on-one against the goalkeeper. But I think I've only seen him getting one-on-one chances against the goalkeeper maybe twice this season. So that's why I was asking, do we really play to his strength? I don't myself, I don't want him on the right. I prefer him in the middle, going in behind the defenders. I know Aubameyang does that from the left, but Pepe, since some have said he only uses one foot, I prefer him as the number 10. So that's what I was asking. And just to add on Aubameyang, very, very good player. I think if Aubameyang was with us in the 2015-2016 season, we would have taken the title ahead of Leicester. I don't know if you guys would agree. So that would be my opinion.
Fully agree.
So that I hope, I know the 3 players have remained. I hope we've talked about LENO, Martinez, Bellerin, Cedric, Tierney, Kolasinac, Chambers, Mustafi, LUIZ, Sokratis, Holding, Saka, Niles, SHKODRAN, Torreira. We've talked about Torreira yet?
No. Just go quickly through him.
Quick rating and keep or sell.
Who are we starting with?
6, keep. 6 and I'd keep.
Yeah, me, 6 sell.
Stan?
I think he's had a really bad season. I saw him in the flesh under Unai Emery in the North London derby, and I thought that I was really excited by him. Seems to have dropped off. Again, like Pepe, I'd like him to go another season under Mikel and see if he can be improved. But for this season, I'd have to give him a 4.5.
Wow.
I think I'd agree that I expected a lot from him this season, so a bit of a letdown. We've talked about Nelson, NKETIAH, Willock, and Pepe and Aubameyang. So we have 4 remaining. I just want a rating for Martinelli, Stan.
Martinelli, big hopes. It's such a shame that he wasn't able to see the season out. But up until he got injured, from what I'd seen of that kid, up until that point, I'd have to give him a solid 7.5, 8. I'm torn. I'm going to go with an 8. Fuck it. Sorry, 8.
keep on guessing.
8.
Zoom.
Sorry.
8 as well. And like Stan, I'd keep him.
Sam?
Yeah, it's close between a 7 and an 8. I'll give him an 8 for the benefit of the doubt. Yeah, very, very talented player. He showed what he could do in the middle and out left. Scored goals. It looked really good. Yeah, and definitely keep. He could be a very, very big player for us. Okay,
so we have 3 players remaining, controversial players. I'll start with you, Stan. You have 1 minute to give the rating, to talk about their season, and keep or sell. Let's start with you, Stan. OZIL.
I'm going to keep it light. Everybody who knows me, there are so many videos out there of me talking about Ozil. I'm not going to do it to you, Glenn. One of your first names. It's not fair. I'm going to keep it light. He has to go, and his overall rating is 0. Nothing. He provides nothing. Gives me nothing.
It's taken 30 seconds. So Zuhum, you have 1 minute and 30 seconds to talk about Ozil.
Non-existent. I don't need it. Non-existent. He's toxic, in my opinion, because he's polarizing for the fans. And if he doesn't want to be a part of this project under Arteta, then so be it. He was non-existent, so 0 as well. And yeah, just get rid of him.
Well, Sam, 2 minutes for you.
No, I don't need the 2 minutes. It's just what all we got to do with him now is what I would do is I would pay him out his contract. I would buy him a ticket with EasyJet from Luton Airport to Antalya in Turkey, and just say goodbye, son. Enjoy the sun, and we don't want to see you here anymore. Sorry. And as for a season rating, I can't say 0 because 0 is a mean that's a bit silly.
Where
But
have you been?
I'll give him a 2. I'll give him a 2 because he's been very, very poor. A 2. Yeah.
Yeah, I think I'd agree with that too, because he helped us in games like at home to Newcastle. He helped us in the Carabao Cup. He helped us against Liverpool away, and a couple of more games where he helped. Of course, he didn't finish with everything 0, but too many controversies with him. In the start of the season, of course, it wasn't his fault. They were attacked with Kolasinac, and then we're hearing stuff with Turkey and Germany. All those stories, I don't want to hear them with Arsenal players. Concentrate on the pitch. So I guess we finished about OZIL. We have 2 players remaining. Zuhum, tell me about Lacazette.
I'd keep him, first and foremost. I would keep him. I think there's more to come from him in a better system. However, the lack of goals, I mean, a lot of the times it was down to himself, and I think I'd give him a 6.
Okay, so you'd keep him?
I'd keep him, and it's a 6.
Okay, Sam?
Yeah, so performance-wise, about 6, I agree. I would sell him to generate money for players we need. I would sell him. I don't think he's that important for us, to be honest.
Okay, and Stan?
Well, we sold Olivier Giroud because we believed he wasn't good enough to take us to the next level. And Alexander Lacazette has never beat Giroud's numbers. He hasn't beat Giroud's numbers. And I was a big fan of Lacazette when we signed him. I'd sell him to get some money. And my rating for the season would be 6.
Well, I think I'd agree with that, especially the mention of Giroud. I think if you had Giroud right now with Aubameyang up front, you'd have been scoring more goals. I just have a feeling because of the way he held the ball, the aerial balls, the headers. There's a time you used to bring on Giroud and you'd score goals for us, to be honest. So, yeah, we only have 1 player remaining, and you have the flows, Guendouzi.
He's got to go, man. He is a child. We have a child you're talking about, not a player. He's been sent home to try and apologize, to come back and apologize, and has refused to apologize. Apparently, when we were posting about our photos when we won the FA Cup, he uploaded to his story that he was out on the beach or somewhere on holiday. It's ridiculous. Sorry, man. He's got to go. He was an average player at best. He was quite sideways. I'd give him a 5.5 in terms of his performances, but after everything that happened off the pitch, I mean, I'm so tempted to give him a 2 as well. So, first of all, he's got to go. And, yeah, I'll give him a 5.5 just to be as fair as possible in terms of his performances.
Let's not forget he did help us against Tottenham, Aston Villa at the beginning of the season. Such games.
Didn't help us win the FA Cup.
Well, yeah. So, Sam?
For me, yeah, I mean, it's a shame he's got a poor attitude and a poor mentality that ruins so much for him. Because as a player, I actually rate him. I do think he does a lot as a player that we could benefit from, and I think he could develop well with us if he had his head screwed on. Emery rated him a lot. He played very well under Emery. There was even talk of him becoming like one of the captains because he was playing so well and he was so influential and he actually wanted to win games. He was very passionate. But yeah, unfortunately, the guy has a very poor attitude, and yeah, there's no room for that Arsenal Football Club. That the club comes before the players. So yeah, get rid of him. I think he's worth a bit of money because he has a lot of potential. I do think he's worth some money. We can cash in on him, and I think we should do that. And then as a season, because he had a good start to the season, and unfortunately ended up the way he ended up. But for me, I've got to give him about 6.5 for me.
So you'd sell him?
Yeah, we have to sell him. Yeah, we have to.
Zuhum, you said you sell him.
Yeah, definitely.
So Stan, is it found for people to judge him or not posting a congratulations message? And you've been kicked out of the team, of course. You're not in the good terms with the manager. Would you have posted a congratulations message if you're him?
I would have posted a congratulation messages because, you know, whether you've got a problem with the club or not, your teammates are supposed to be your teammates, right? And you want your friends to do well and succeed. What he done was just reinforce the notion that he's a very childish young man. And if you go, I predict that if you go searching for Matteo Guendouzi years and years from now, you will find him still sat in the last chance saloon of the football club that he's signed to. And he's going to have a career like Mario Balotelli. He's going to be a journeyman, and he's always going to be, he'll end up at clubs which are below his level because the manager there is going to take a chance on him and thinks that he can be the one to train him. And he's never going to reach his full potential. Because if this is what he's like now, he's been shown the door 3 times now and he's only a young man at 21. I don't see how that's going to improve. And it surprises me that he doesn't have anybody around him, a mother, a father, a brother, an uncle, who can put an arm around him and say, what are you doing with your career, son? You know, you got booted out of PSG. They booted you out of the other place in France. Now Arsenal don't want you. You're not thinking about what you're doing. So I want him to go now. He has to go. And my rating would be, I don't know, I'll just pull a number out of the air, 3 or 4. Take your pick.
Okay. So you'd sell him, I'm guessing?
Yeah. Yeah, we were self-sustaining model. We were self-sustaining model. We paid, what, about 9 for him. We may be able to get 30 in this climate, maybe 40 if we're cheeky and canny enough. Good business.
I had so much hope for him, but yeah, it's just the way it goes. Let's go through the managers quickly, the last 3 ratings for the managers. Let me just ask you, would you have sacked Unai Emery after the Chelsea game in the Europa League, or were you one of those people who are talking about him getting another season?
No, I didn't want to sack him after the Chelsea game. I was very disappointed, but I wanted him to get a second chance and to get a proper transfer window under his belt and get some of his players he wanted to get in. Of course, we saw what happened was he didn't get the players he wanted, which again is a worry now for Arteta. I hope that doesn't happen for him. But you know, I wanted him to have his sort of influence on the squad he wanted, and then yes, I wanted to give him a second chance, and then unfortunately it just didn't work out. The guy was definitely in the deep end, you know, punching well above, drowning in the deep end, you know, basically, you know, struggling to do anything. And yeah, it just got worse and worse as the season progressed, didn't it? You know, it just got worse and worse, and yeah, so well worth a sacking. I think we should actually sacked him earlier to give us more time to try and salvage the season. You know, because we didn't really get much time then when Arteta was finally hired. But yeah, so quickly go through them. Emery, poor manager, poor man management, didn't do a good job. Arsenal's too big of a club for him, too big of a task. I give him a 3, basically, a rating.
I don't think he's a bad manager, but Arsenal is a bit of a bigger job than he is.
Too big for him, too big. Not his level. He's a lower level. Ljungberg, I don't think you could really expect much from Ljungberg because he was just clearly just a caretaker manager. He said himself he didn't want the role permanently, you know. So he continued a bit what Emery did, just to try and, you know, stabilise the ship a little bit until a new manager came in. He didn't have any support because Emery took all his staff with him, and Ljungberg was left with no one, and they didn't want to bring in anyone interim because they wanted to just get a new manager and bring all their staff in. So Ljungberg had a very, very tough task there with no staff, no support. And I think he did okay considering, but I'd still not great. I'll give him about a 6. And then Arteta, I mean, Arteta is a whole program really in itself, Arteta. But listen, Arteta's improved so much. He's adaptable, good man management, and now he's won the FA Cup within the first 6 months of being manager at Arsenal, beating big teams along the way. For me, I got to give Arteta based on where he was when he started, where he's now. I've got to give him a 9. I've got to give him a 9. So I gave
Zoom,
Arteta a 9. I gave him a 9.
Yeah.
Okay. Zoom, Emery, would you have sacked him at the end of last season?
No, actually, I was the one calling for stability. I was one of the guys calling for stability, even though there were a lot of red flags towards the last season's run-in. Obviously, everything that went wrong this season, I think it emanated from him. He allowed for things to get worse and worse with the Granit Xhaka situation, with OZIL, and so on and so forth. Yeah, I think I'd give him a 2. Got sacked, so I'd give him a 2. And I don't think I can really rate Ljungberg because he just came in, like Sam mentioned, such a hard job. I mean, wasn't Mertesacker at some point part of his helping hand?
Yeah.
He was taken from the youth. He was taken from the youth team to help him as an assistant. Yeah, because we had no staff. There was no support staff. Yeah.
Exactly. So it's so harsh to even try and rate Ljungberg. But like Sam said, I think I'd probably give him a 6. He'd done okay, maybe even a 5.5. And obviously Mikel Arteta a 9. I mean, like Sam said, we'd need a whole other meeting just to discuss his effect on the club. But yeah, to win the trophy in first 6 months, fantastic, and to rejuvenate the energy within the club is fantastic. Thank you so much, Arteta. I'd like to say that. So yeah, 9 for Arteta.
Stan?
Definitely.
I thought Unai Emery was just a bad fit. It just didn't work. And also, you know, when I discovered that the board had maligned him by giving him Pepe when he clearly went to them and said that he wanted Zaha, I just didn't think he was going to last that long if the board are making those decisions over the manager. So I always thought it was dead man walking. So yeah, glad he got fired. It was the right thing to do. I'd give him a 2. You know, it was terrible. Worse than Bruce Rioch. Freddie Ljungberg, I can't give him a rating. I can't remember what the match was that he was in charge for. You know, he didn't do anything bad. He didn't do anything good. He was just a placeholder, right? While things were getting done. No different to when Stuart Houston came in, when we got rid of Bruce Rioch and we couldn't quite bring in Arsene Wenger yet. You know, so I really couldn't give him a score, and I would like Freddie to remain at the club in some form, because I like having some of the old heads around, you know, working with the youngsters. I think he'd be a good influence. Mikel Arteta, I'm going to have to give him a 10. I mean, the geezer beat COVID and brought up. I mean, you know, to get off your deathbed and come into work and do what you can. I mean, seriously. I mean, in his first season, you know, and I was very worried when we got him as the manager, because it was a gamble, as I said earlier on on the podcast. So I have to give him a 10, because I can't fault him for what he's provided. Yeah, I can fault some of the substitutions that he's made in games, and sometimes, you know, taking a little bit too long and looking like he's thinking about things too much. He does that sometimes. You know, he'll get the subs out on the sideline, and you can see him standing there, and he's really overthinking it. But he goes into the matrix. But in real time, 6 minutes has gone past. And standing in the touchdown, the manager going, "Well, are we on or are we off?" So I get that a little bit. I get that, and that's going to be teething problems that you're going to get with a guy that's in the saddle for the first time. But to bring in the FA Cup in the conditions that he's had, to be the first guy to bring us a trophy since the legend that was Arsene Wenger, he gets around 10, man. Has to be for me.
Fair.
Okay. Quick answers. I have 4 questions. Quick answers to keep it short. Let me start with you, Sam. Did you expect more than 2 players to be signed in January? Yes or no?
In January, what are you talking about?
Yeah, when we brought on Pablo Mari and Cedric, did you expect more? Yes or no?
No.
Zuhum, yes or no?
No confidence.
Stan?
No.
Okay, the second question, which player do you really want us to sign this season at this transfer window? Sam, just one player?
I want Partey.
Zuhum?
Yeah, it has to be Partey. If it's one player, it's Partey.
Stan?
Lionel Messi.
Why not? Let's go.
Danny Ings. No. Just one. Oof.
Just one.
Yeah, I think for the position, it has to be a Partey or a player of that ilk for that role in that position.
Yeah.
Okay, for me, I'd go with Doucouré. And the third question, Sam, at least how many players do you want this transfer window? The minimum.
4.
Zuhum?
I think I'd say 3.
Stan?
The minimum would be 3. I'd like 4, but the minimum would be 3.
Okay, I think 4 for me. And then final question, let me start with you, Zuhum. Rate Arsenal seasons in overall Arsenal season out of 10.
7. 7. Considering everything that happened, FA Cup win. Yeah, I'm gonna go 7.
Stan?
Yeah, for exactly the same reasons, I think 7 is fair because of everything that's happened with this season.
Sam?
Yeah, 6 for me. Very poor in the league, and then we had that FA Cup to sort of balance it out. So yeah, 6 for me.
Fair.
Okay, so those were your season player ratings and the keep or sell. I want to thank Sam for coming on. Where can they find you?
Me?
Yeah.
Was that
Sam.
Sorry.
Sam.
Me? Oh, okay. Yeah, thanks for having me. It's been great. You can find me on Sam Greenwood TV. Just do some football chats on there now and again, and some quizzes as well. Apart from that, I'm on these other guys' channels. So if you drop by my channel, give it a subscribe and a like, that'd be greatly appreciated. And thanks for having me. It's been good fun.
Zuhum?
You can find me at Zoom Omar and obviously on IG and on Twitter. Love a follow there. I also do some reaction videos in terms of the Arsenal content. So yeah, thank you so much.
Stan?
On Twitter, you can find me at Stan_the_man68. You can see my post-match reaction videos over on Cannon Fodder TV. You can see me on Thursdays and Sundays on the Arsenal Fan Circle. You can also catch me on Claude and the Bansters. And if you like FIFA rebuilds, my FIFA rebuild series is also on Claude and the Bansters. And there's a few more other podcasts you'll always see me on. I don't have my own channel. I just basically leech off everybody else.
Hashtag shitbag6.
basically, you can find him everywhere you want to find him. And you can also find them on the 2020 Grammy list too, and the 2021, all 3 of them. Thank you guys for coming on. Of course, like and subscribe. Thanks to everyone who came to the chat box, and of course, internet problems. Thank you guys for covering. And we are going to end this. Thank you for coming on. Keep staying safe. A shout out to Lebanon. I hope everyone is well. And I'll talk to you guys later.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Cheers, guys.